Hello, everybody. Welcome. We're starting early today due to the news. Omar, what do you think?
Oh, you mean the Bloomberg news?
Yeah, Bloomberg report. At the top of your screen is a Dana Hall and Ed Lodlow 8-8 event will be delayed according to reports. What do you think? Do you think this is a rumor? Do you think it's real? Or do you think it's just another thought article?
Well, I mean, I would probably wait until Elon confirmed it and really sort of gave their explanation first. I think a lot of the problem with these leaks is the journalists kind of try and spin it their own way. It's like, oh, okay, they can't do it, they're not ready, whatever. And you often don't really get the real reason if it is true. So, I mean, I'm sure they talked to somebody within the company that they're basing this on. They wouldn't kind of, put it out there based on nothing. But I'm just waiting to see what Elon has to say on it. I'm sure he'll comment sooner or later. If they are actually delaying it, he'll have to announce it. But I think the most important thing is for the demo to be great, for the unveil to be great, for the vehicle to look ready, and for people to get demo rides, right? I think it's important that people actually be able to experience it for themselves, to be able to sit in one of these cars without a driver and do a ride. And it's said in the story that they wanted to build more prototypes. So it could be that they're just trying to build more cyber cabs. Um, so, yeah, I mean, obviously disappointing if it is going to be delayed a couple months, but it's just a couple months at the end of the day. I'd rather have them have a great event than just try and stick it on time.
Yoda, what do you think?
Yeah, so I think we can probably unpack what are the potential reasons. Again, not claiming which is true, but obviously, if you look at the low-hanging fruits of getting the presentation ready, uh, that's not the issue. Um, is it the hardware? Is it that the design or the prototypes are not finalized? Potentially, but I think you don't need to unveil 20 of these things. You could do two, you could do one. And so if there is a delay, to me there's two reasons, one being licensing of the or the regulatory approval for where the demo is happening, if this is more of a real demo. So if this is China, potentially there's something that's being delayed there. um, the other reason is that Elon intends to demo on 8.8 the service, not just the hardware. And if that's true, and that's what's causing the delay, um, to me that's a good thing, because um, Tesla may not be just unveiling the hardware and saying that the service is next year sometime, but that they actually want to launch with a very restricted service potentially. So that's my take right now. Thanks.
Thank you. Uzi, what do you think?
Well, I'm very tight. And I think Ed Ludlow does not like Elon and Tesla, but that's another story. I do think the bright side is we do know the local bottom is 243. You can sort of see the huge green candle, and me and Omar bought. So we're back, baby. It's red days.
Omar, does this news change your optimism around the stock price for this year? I believe yesterday you said something like $300 per share by year end.
I mean, I think it's pretty clear this thing is going to 300 sooner rather than later. Um, the shorts are getting a little excited. I mean, when it has these sort of sharp pullbacks like this, where it's dropping $20 in one day, I always kind of try and jump in because I find the moves can reverse pretty quickly. But I mean, there's a lot of energy into this name right now. I mean, you even have Jim Cramer saying this thing is headed to $1 trillion market cap, which is around $300. And I mean, I think you just have, for example, last night, people getting 12.4, trying it, having zero intervention drives, and there's a lot of momentum. You look at the CPI data that came out today, and it's the coolest core CPI reading since 2021. It's when this whole mess started. So I think futures markets are almost completely now pricing in a September rate cut. It's looking a lot more likely. All of these things are good. Um, and, you know, them doing the event in October versus August, if this rumor is true, is neither here nor there. They're not actually launching anything. It's not like they're launching a Robotaxi service, right? They could do the event anytime they wanted. They're just doing an unveil of the vehicle. It'll be at least 5 to 9 quarters before it's into production.
No hands, Mo. Yoda, go ahead.
Yeah, so Omar, maybe to be clear, if Elon says that the delay is due to the service not being ready and it's going to take 2 months or 3 months, etc., you would actually be more bullish because you're expecting just the hardware unveil. Is that right?
They're not launching a Robotaxi service. They're just doing a vehicle unveil and a demo. So I suspect the demo part is what's taking a little bit longer. It's not hard to have one cybercab. I mean, they have cybercab prototypes that they've built in the design studio. And I heard last night, by the way, that the event is expected to be in Los Angeles at the Tesla Design Center. And I heard from another Tesla employee that engineers have been flown down from Fremont down to Los Angeles to build prototypes. But I think what they really want to do is actually make it so people who come to the event can take rides in an actual cyber cab. And to do that, you'd probably want, I don't know, maybe at least 4 or 5 of them.
Can you repeat the information about where it's going to be held?
Yeah, so this isn't 100% confirmed, but I heard that it's going to be in Los Angeles at the Tesla Design Center in Hawthorne. That's by SpaceX headquarters, right on kind of the SpaceX campus there. That's where Franz and his team work. And another Tesla employee had told me that engineers are being flown from Fremont down to Tesla Design Center in Los Angeles to help build prototypes.
Do you guys see Jake as a listener or a speaker?
Listener.
Okay. If anybody has any questions or comments around this event, the stock is now 7% on this news. Please request to speak. I see about Tesla in the crowd. He can come up, and if you could please give us an update on how the rollout is going. Omar, 12.4.3 rollout has expanded. Let's get an update from About Tesla. About Tesla, how are you?
Hi, Yaman. How are you doing?
Good. What's the latest on the rollout?
The last I checked, we are still at at around 18% of the eligible cars. As of yesterday, are getting the update, which is a pretty big wave. It's probably like 4 or 5% of the entire Tesla fleet. But in the US, and if we only look at the version that is eligible, that's 18% of eligible cars. A lot of people are getting it, and of course, even more are still waiting and being anxious.
Good. 18% of the eligible cars have the update. Yoda?
Yeah, hey Omar, appreciate those insights. I just think that those rides, those extra rides in those 5 or 7 robo taxis are gonna be the most expensive rides in history. If you calculate 5, 7% of market cap. And for Tesla or Elon to go for that, knowing that, of course, the market's going to react the way it does with the delay, it's just difficult to comprehend. But I appreciate the insight, though.
Omar, there are quite a few people in the replies who say this is FUD, this is a false report. And Omar indicated earlier, before you believe this, maybe wait for a confirmation or explanation from Elon. And Omar also said, for those of you who just joined, that it would actually be positive if they have new prototypes coming up. We want the event to be obviously successful. And then I see two hands. Michael?
Yeah, hi, Yaman. This is an interesting development. I do think we should wait for confirmation, but I think it's most likely that it's actually true. And one thing that I haven't heard discussed is that besides the Robotaxi unveil on August 8th, in the last quarterly earnings call, Elon mentioned that they'll talk more about the newer models that they expect in 2025 on August 8th as well. And that's something I haven't heard been discussed. And that could be the prototypes that might be delaying it.
Archive.
Yeah, that was kind of my point as well. If this is just a Robotaxi unveil, or if you feel some other vehicle will be unveiled, or if that's going to be a separate event after this, or maybe not, since this is now delayed.
Omar, what do you think?
Sorry, what was the question?
Maybe
Archive.
my point was basically to the following of, in the last earnings report, they said they were going to have cheaper vehicles out in early 2025. So do you feel that those will be revealed at a separate event, or maybe by delaying this, they're going to reveal them all?
Separate event.
You don't feel that's for the delay to maybe do everything at one event and have
No,
everything done?
this is about the cyber cab.
Well, Omar, if you look at the earnings call transcript from last earnings call, Elon did mention that there would be more details about those cheaper vehicles at the August 8th event.
Yeah, but I don't expect them to be unveiled at that event. This is really about the cyber cab. They may mention them or what their strategy is, or say we're still doing these vehicles, but this is really going to be a cyber cab unveil.
I'm putting in a poll on YouTube live chat to kind of get a gauge. If this news is real or not, please vote in the poll in YouTube live chat. Archive.
Obviously, I know what you mean by saying that you think this will be a separate event, but do you not think by their saying they need to build more prototypes that it all means different variations, or you think it's a completely separate platform for those cheaper vehicles?
Omar, is Elon able to comment now, though, given you're in the quiet period before earnings?
Yeah, I think he should be able to comment on this. I don't see why not.
Michael, no hands mode, no hands mode. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I'll just say that the cheaper models are actually kind of related to Robotaxi. I think it's actually more a Robotaxi event than just Cybercab event. I think they're going to talk about the business model. I think Elon has already talked about it and thought about it, saying it's going to be similar to Airbnb or Uber, and um, and part of that is expanding to all modes of transportation, having models for all segments. And so part of the business model is customer-owned cars on a robotaxi fleet, as well as the cyber cab. So I think there's two parts to it. So I think only unveiling the cyber cab would omit the part around customer cars being in the robotaxi fleet. And I think getting the maximum utility out of the different segments for robotaxis. So that's my thought.
Omar, we have more than 1,000 people in this space right now, more than 1,000 people trying to learn what the hell happened to the stock, down 7%. Would you recommend people buy the dip?
Well, I mean, everybody has to make their own decisions. Maybe it'll dip a lot more. I don't know. But I mean, it's amazing how people just go right back to the same irrationality, stupidity, and flawed thinking within 5 seconds of a dip. Everybody's panicking again. After we have this amazing run, it goes up 50% 1 month. Everybody's cheering, yeah, it's 270. Now everybody's just shitting their pants again. Just relax, okay? These little moves up and down, when something goes up a lot, then it goes down a lot. It's not even about the news story itself, right? It's just natural. It's the way the market works. So don't freak out. Don't make any crazy decisions. I mean, I never buy on days when it's shooting up. That's rarely a great decision. I buy on red days. So if it dips a lot, especially when it dips sharply, I always like to buy on those days, like today, for example, because I find that, you quite often have something where Elon will just comment and say, no, this isn't true. And then, the move will just completely reverse. I think you're seeing strong fundamental strength here. I think you're seeing rates come down, and I've always said as rates come down, that'll really be the start of this sort of repricing event. So I see this really being a $300 stock relatively near term, and that doesn't mean it's going to be green every day between now and then, but I think the direction is clear.
Uzi.
And I think it's sort of adding more to what Omar was saying. We had a conversation about reflexivity, I think 2 days ago, where there's this self-fulfilling cycle where when there's more buying action, continues to attract, I guess, FOMO. And the other side of that is that once it sort of peaks, it comes down hard too. So that's all in volatility. And I
Okay.
also
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I also agree. I'm buying on the red days, so it's
Okay.
actually nice.
Archive.
Maybe it's just me, but do you feel there's any connection of this not being mentioned at the shareholder meeting and Elon not really saying anything since he announced back in April that it was going to be on the 8th? You think maybe this was predicted, especially because of the shareholder meeting? I thought it'd be mentioned there.
Okay. Edward.
Yeah, my premise is just that I expect the stock to bounce because this is part of a technical reaction to the big uptrend. But the size of this bounce much depends on the expectation of this year and next year earnings. So I wanted to ask Omar because now we are at $2.4 per share of earnings in 2024. So Tesla is perfectly at 100 price earning. For next year, I don't know how they can improve earnings from this level. So we are twice as expensive than Nvidia, more or less. So this delay changes the earning expectation. So it makes Tesla more expensive. What's his number for next year earning per share?
Omar is busy right now. Let's go to Mishka.
Anybody can answer. I mean, anybody can answer with
Mishka.
Hello. And I wanted to quickly mention to Archive. I mean, Value Analyst definitely predicted the delay back in the day. But that aside, I think it's very interesting also as to what's going on with stock because as of late, I've been seeing a narrative, especially like by Elon, push toward one of the previous Tesla leads. He was saying like he didn't know what to do with his money, and Elon made a post saying Tesla stock with two hands that like go apart to make a rainbow. And there's recently been a lot of talk about like burning shorts and everything else, to where to the person that asked the question of like, was this expected? Why didn't this get shared in the earnings? I wanted to present the question of, is it possible that like Elon just completely planned this to create more shorts to burn? Now, granted, I think that falls under SEC violations or whatever. I don't know if that's the case. But like,
Well,
could that be the
okay,
case?
so yeah, who knows, right? I mean, I don't want to speculate in this space about somebody's intentions, but we have a report at hand. The stock is down 7%. I pinned at the top of your screens a post. You can reply to the post and share what you think. Is this report true or FUD? And you can, I guess, throw in a couple sentences about what Mishka just asked as well. Let's get Omar's thoughts on Mishka's question. Omar?
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think there's some master plan here to trick the shorts. I think the shorts will blow themselves up. They don't need any help with that.
There you go. Let's go to Pennington. Pennington, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, I don't think it really matters whether or not they've achieved something that's never been done before in August or October. The expectation in August was never that on August 8th, Robotaxi was going to be deployed. It's just that they were going to be unveiling the prototype and hopefully something to do with the numbers. So I don't know. It just seems like quite an overreaction to a 2-month delay.
All right. Well, let us know your thoughts in a reply to the tweet at the top. Do you think this report is true or FUD? Do you think the stock is overreacting? Do you think there's a master plan in mind? Do you think Elon's, as Mishka suggested, Elon's trying to trap the shorts? Who knows? This is all speculation, obviously. There's no proof, Mishka. Just want to make sure that's clear, right?
No, yeah, of course.
Okay. Jimmy.
Hey guys, I'm arrived late to the conversation, but I left a comment in the messages about the $1.7 billion to Legacy Auto from the Biden administration today to restart their EV programs and to open up plants that they closed down. What do you guys think this does to the stocks?
Let's get Mishka's view real quick before we change topics. Mishka?
Last thing I want to mention about the stock, and then I actually wanted to bring that topic up as well. I really also wonder on if today's post from Bloomberg on the whole Robotaxi delay and everything else, if that's just maybe a possible leak, I guess you could say, because Elon's very well known for finding out moles in the company and trying to figure out people that spread Tesla secrets out. So I really wonder if it is a possibility that also this was something that was only mentioned to, let's say, like a certain amount of people, and Bloomberg picked up on that, and maybe Elon is kind of fishing out people that are trying to expose company secrets, especially with the fact that Optimus, the AI, last AI event, they said that they're not going to be doing another AI day because a lot of competitors are stealing from them. And that's honestly my biggest speculation right now about that. And I also think that the 1.7 billion to restart EV programs is as unfair as it is to Tesla. I think it's great. I think EV adoption is overall just good.
Thank you. We have Bradford on the board now. Bradford, what do you think about what's going on in the stock today?
Well, before I share that, Mishka, are you JP Sarte?
What is that?
No.
Your voice is just very similar. I don't.
He's not talking long enough to be JP.
Yeah, I don't think this is some kind of trick from Tesla. I'm curious to see if Elon comes out with a denial I don't think he would be limited from denying this if that's what he wants to do. I don't think this has an impact on earnings, like someone was asking. Robot. I don't think there was any expectations that Robotaxi would contribute to earnings and right away, and like a 2 month delay, if it's true, I don't think is like that meaningful. But Matt and I, we just posted a video about just the level of emotion in the Tesla investing community about Tesla FOMO, and here we're seeing a little bit of it popping. So we're positive on the developments in the company as far as like with Megapack, what we think are going to happen with earnings. So we think earnings are going to be fine. They're going to be stronger because of Megapack, and they'll continue to improve because Cybertrucks continuing to scale, etc. So we're looking.
Bradford cut off. But before he continues, I'm going to read a comment from Haresh Kemani in YouTube live chat. Haresh says, guessing this is true as Elon has not confirmed, denied yet, though he has said in the past he can't comment on every article. He also says, also, Dana Ed from Bloomberg would be in deep trouble for stock manipulation if Elon says this is false.
Yeah, I don't think so. This story literally came out 10 minutes ago. You can't expect Elon to respond in 10 minutes or it's true. And journalists are wrong all the time. Often they have a piece of information that's correct, but they interpret it the wrong way. Classic example, them saying that the compact car was being canceled. And Tesla said, oh, it's not being canceled. We're actually accelerating the production by moving it onto the Model 3 and Y line. So they actually had a real piece of information that the project was being canceled. But what they didn't understand is that it was because it was being moved up here. Similarly, I think if Elon had tweeted this and we had gotten kind of Elon's explanation rather than the media kind of leaking it, we'd have more context. So probably my base assumption is it may be delayed. There may be truth to that, but there may be some context that's missing here to help understand why they want to move it to October if it's true.
Bradford, do you want to continue?
Yeah, I was just thinking about the Robotaxi event period. The Robotaxi isn't going to be sold to consumers. So this event would be maybe for investors, maybe for companies who would run a Robotaxi fleet. But maybe it's just a recruiting event. I'm curious, Omar, what do you think the overall purpose of the Robotaxi event is? I know it sounds like a really dumb question, but they aren't going to be selling to consumers.
Well, I think they are going to sell to consumers, actually. But, the unveil is just really about showing off the Cybercab, right? This is their first vehicle without a steering wheel, without pedals. Back at Autonomy Day in 2019, Elon said, this is where we're going. He ended the presentation with that picture of a Model 3 without physical controls. So now they've got the Cybercab. I think they're kind of show off, okay, this is our plan to get to the lowest cost per mile. We're obviously going to see the design. We're going to see the vehicles, the features of the vehicles that they've, designed for autonomy, their kind of vision around that. Maybe they'll talk about the unboxed process a bit, maybe talk about some of the other vehicles that they want to produce briefly. And then they're going to give people demos, and people will get to sit in a driverless Tesla for the first time and experience that. So I think it's going to be historic just for that, right? And you want it to be a great demo, right? You don't want it to be, oh yeah, when I did a demo of the Cybercab and we hit over one of the other attendees. We ran him over. So I think you want to have a good number of Cybercabs, and you want to have the demo be really flawless. So if they can do that, then it's going to be a hit of an event. right? If they send media, they send analysts in there, they send your Gene Munsters and your Dan Ives of the world on a driverless Tesla ride. I mean, it's hard to really believe it until you see it. And then once you see it, it just kind of clicks. So that's kind of what I'm expecting. It's a vehicle unveil. I've heard a lot of people say, "Oh, well, FSD isn't ready," or FSD has to be ready for this. I mean, it has to be ready for a demo. It doesn't have to be ready to launch an actual robotaxi service, right? So they're going to unveil this, they're going to demo it. We don't expect production to start for at least 5 quarters after that. So late 2025, realistically 2026, we would maybe see the Cybercab actually start being produced. So this is kind of like the Model 3 unveil in 2016, not really like the Model 3 start of production in late 2017.
Okay, Luhan Chen.
Yeah, thank you. And actually, your reason is, I listen this is, I really think, people always like talk this so often. If you do not trust, Tesla, you even do not need, this like a license, this, because we are not, trade dealer, is that right? Daily trade. So I think long term, Tesla still, build a base, build a fundamental. So like I said, like I really think actually after 2 years or 3 years, everybody say, hey, why didn't buy, like a $2, the 200 or $300? So I just don't understand, people so focused on this, delay 2 months. For the, Tesla, if you really trust Tesla, you don't care even. You need, if you
Okay.
have, I really
Thank you. One of the rules that we have in this space is that first-time speakers are limited to asking questions in 10 words or fewer. Thank you,
Oh,
Luhan.
sorry. Yep.
Bradford.
I guess, like, on second thought, you do need the Robotaxi event for consumers because they need to see the app, and it'd also be good for them to see the vehicle. I'm guessing the design of the vehicle, it'll look cool. It's going to be something that people are going to want to be seen and take their photo, like getting in and out of. So I kind of I backtrack on the comment I made, like, why is it for consumers? That makes sense to me now.
Mishka.
One other thing that I wanted to bring back was about like why Elon hasn't responded. That is actually something that I'm a little curious about because I just went back to the Reuters article back when Reuters made the post about it, and Elon does tend to respond to false news fairly quickly. So this does definitely interest me on why he hasn't commented on this, and is it like value analyst's YouTube comment said like that he's trying to figure out who did this or what? But that is interesting because before he has historically responded within 5 to 15 minutes. 5 minutes
Mishka,
for the
are you
Reuters
on,
article.
are you on YouTube live chat?
I'm checking it out as well. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, let me just read that for context. Haresh says Elon's probably taking care of who leaked it to Bloomberg. Uzi?
I mean, I don't know how valuable it is, but he was on for about 10 minutes because he commented on a post. And then I saw the Bloomberg article dropped. Unusual Whales reported on it like 9 minutes before while he was commenting, but why would you look at his comments? So I think what you're saying is right, Iman.
Guys, I mean, you can't say, oh, Elon didn't respond to it within 10 minutes. It must be true. It sounds like there probably is some truth to it, but
No, listen. The fact is, if he didn't come in here and deny it in the first 60 seconds, anything claimed is true, right?
Can't the guy just take a dump in peace without being on X the whole time? That's all I'm saying.
yeah, he actually crapped his pants, and that's why he hasn't responded yet. And oh wow, he didn't respond to that allegation. I guess it's true. I mean, he's gonna respond to this, right? Because if it's delayed, he's gonna have to announce the delay, right? So it's not like he can keep it a secret. People are just gonna show up on August 8th. We're gonna hear what the story is. So there's no use kind of, I don't know, speculating on it. if it's true, then he's going to have to tell us very soon.
Yeah, and the stock is recovering just a little bit. So let's see. Right now, it's down 5.3%. Interesting. Maybe this is a buy the dip event. Who knows? I'm not saying one way or another, but if you'd like to share your view, you can do so in a reply to the tweet at the top. Let's see, Brooke. JB.
Yeah, Omar got really close to what my comment was. I was going to say if you reverse engineer how today was going to go, if you gave Tesla the opportunity to release the story rather than Bloomberg, they would have made October sound exciting. And that's probably why they're pissed off today. Because if you're going to delay it 3 months, you want to get excitement. And one of the ideas I had, and this is total speculation, but to make it exciting, is that we're working with municipalities to show it in specific cities on October. So we're going to delay it to get the permit. And that would be very exciting. And that would, I would think, defray the stock from crashing like it is now. Not crashing, but, faltering. That's my only comment.
Omar, what do you think about that?
Sorry, I wasn't listening.
He's saying that maybe they're trying to get some permits.
No, I don't think they need any permits for this. That's not what it is.
JB, Omar said that's a stupid idea. What do you think?
Well, I was saying is then reverse engineer it to make October sound exciting, and whatever idea that is. And I think Waymo has the big advantage on the permits, and Tesla does not have any evidence that they're going for permits right now. And, that'd just be exciting. That would stop the stock from falling, is all I'm trying to say is. And whether he's interested in
The other
that.
thing, there's a really good comment from Chris, one of our leaders in YouTube live chat. He says other mega caps are dropping as well. And if I pull up, let's see, Microsoft is down 3%, Nvidia down 4% today, Apple down 2.4%, Amazon down 3%, Meta down 4%, Google down 3%. So, Tesla was outperforming these stocks in the morning, but maybe catch down a little bit. Let's go to Magic. Always colorful.
Hey, so in terms of the news, so they alert Elon before they're going to publish the story. So if he wanted to respond, I mean, he knows the story was going to be published today. So it might have something to do with all these call options being hit, but maybe just a coincidence.
Omar, would you like to comment on that?
Yeah, I mean, they do email him ahead of time, but I don't think necessarily he's, waiting at the gun to respond to this necessarily. Like he said it before in a tweet to me. He said, "Look, just because I don't respond doesn't mean, you have to run to conclusions right away. This guy's a busy guy. He's got rockets to launch. He's got, car companies to run. We're going to get the information pretty soon. We don't have to speculate on why he hasn't responded to it. He will either tell us that it's delayed or not delayed. So I think it's only a matter of time. My guess would probably be that he's just trying to figure out what to say, maybe talking to the team, crafting a response, and then they're going to say something.
So anybody want to take me on a coffee bet that this is true?
What are you saying? Are you saying this is true, that Elon is not going to deny it? What's the claim?
I'm saying that they're going to delay the event. I don't care what Elon says.
Yeah,
but
I got you. Yeah. I mean, I predicted this.
Well,
I'll pin at the top the coffee bet I had from April when he first came out and said it, that I thought it was going to be delayed. At the top of our screens is the bet from April with Meta, and I guess we'll find out. I guess we'll find out whether it's delayed or not. I think earlier Larry said that it's probably true news because if it was going to happen, they would have let everyone know by now where it's going to happen. But who knows? Like Omar said at the beginning of the space, I think we should probably just wait for confirmation one way or another from Elon. Mishka.
I'm gonna ask Magic, where are you at? I'll take you up on that. I have hope. I have hope. I'm gonna take it aside, guys. Maybe I'm gonna lose a coffee here, but Magic, stream a message. I'll take you up on that.
Sounds good.
So Magic is saying it's going to be delayed. Mishka is saying, Mishka, are you saying it's not going to be delayed?
I'm gonna be hopeful. Do I think it's gonna be delayed? Yes, but you know what? I might win a free coffee. I might lose one.
Interesting.
Well,
Omar,
all the bears were telling us it was going to be a sell the news event. So now we don't have to sell the news until October. We can keep rallying until then. Good news.
Jimmy.
I was gonna say if this gets delayed till October, it's not like there's really no downside of this. It just means that they're gonna make it better. They're just gonna figure out more things that they can maybe include. Like I don't really see a downfall. Maybe short term if you're like really short-sighted person, but overall, I think this is great for the company.
Okay, it looks like the board is divided between whether this news is true or false. And if you'd like to share your view, you can do so in a reply at the top. Marcus.
Yeah, I would just like to point out that the last time somebody said that the Robotaxi thing wasn't going to happen, Elon said not only is it going to happen, it's going to happen on 8/8. So maybe they're just going to move the date up to the end of July. Maybe they even hold it at the Q2 earnings call.
Maybe they just do it right now.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Maybe they already did
possible.
it while they've been on this space. Yeah.
Maybe that's why the stuff was going on. Dave.
Yeah. There's nothing that tells me that this is
Dave.
Yeah, there's nothing that tells me that this is false. He hasn't come back to say it's myself. I'm really hoping that a Model 2.5, whatever he calls it, and maybe a Cybervan would come out, because I think those things would actually make a lot more money in the next 3 to 5 years than Robotaxi. I think it'd be great long term, but short term and near term, the other vehicles are going to be more profitable. But I also just wondering, this is kind of distracting from earnings. Q2 earnings is coming up in less than 2 weeks. And so all I'm hearing on the chat board is, delay. Really, I'm looking for a really big beat in Q2 earnings. And I think that's going to propel Tesla to 300. So, Robotaxi to me was the event that I would look at afterwards, but Q2 is where my eyes are at. I don't know.
Okay, Magic.
Yeah.
Hey, I just want to remind everybody that this Robotaxi event was announced when Tesla stock was around $140. So just the coincidence maybe that he announced this event to propel the stock up, and now that pump is done, you can delay it, or you can just keep everybody on a carrot on a stick. So just my 2 cents.
We have two
Guys,
bears on the board now.
This is not a pump. This has nothing to do with the stock. This is not a trick against the shorts. This is an actual product that they want to build. Okay? If you're looking at this event and you're just thinking it's about short-term price action, you're completely missing the bigger picture here.
Archive.
If I remember correctly, I think that Elon actually announced that this would happen the same day that Reuters article came out saying that the compact was canceled. Do you think maybe it was just premature back in April, thinking they'd be ready, and he just wanted to fire back at them the same day they said one of the vehicles was apparently canceled?
So he didn't have a Robotaxi ready then. He spit out a date that was close enough to, keep everybody interested, and he pushed the stock up temporarily. First he says the announcement, and then he tries to figure out where it is, right? Look at the exact moment he announced it, and tell me. I mean, if you guys are not suspicious about it, that's okay. But just look at the time and see if I'm wrong. See if I'm wrong on when he announced it.
Let's get all the bear views out of the way here. Grant, welcome. I cannot imagine what you're gonna say.
I don't either, really. I mean, I don't think that this is a big surprise that whatever they've been developing is probably not ready for showtime. I think it's a bummer because I do think there are probably a lot of people that were beginning to make bets on 816 puts, which I have a number of. They're all pretty far out of the money at this point, so it's not affecting me. But I do think that people who over the last few weeks have seen the stock price move up and have thought, you know what, I bet it's a sell the news type deal, I'm going to put some money on an 816 put. They're now less likely to have the catalyst to drive the price movement down. I think everything's just kind of a way of delaying the inevitable. Like, this isn't working. It is what it is. But, that's one thing. One other data point that I'll just introduce because I think it is interesting is that on 8/9, there is a scheduled hearing with the California DMV where Tesla will be defending themselves against allegations that they've overmarketed their products. I don't think that would be the proximate cause of this, but it would feel awkward to be saying, like, what are you talking about? We don't overpromise anything the day after saying, here's a Robotaxi. Maybe we'll figure out how to make it work in a couple of years.
Henry.
Yeah, Grant, what you keep talking about this thing. What do you think is going to come out of it? Because did you know that Nvidia was sued by the SEC for misleading investors as to who was the main purchaser of GPUs in the run up with the crypto bubble? And you know how much they had to pay to settle? $6 million. So I don't know what you're expecting to come out of this. You keep bringing it up every day.
Grant.
One thing that will likely come out of it is that Tesla will be forced to change the names of Autopilot and FSD. California passed a law in 2022 preventing or making it illegal for people to use language in their product titles that's misleading. That's actually listed in the lawsuit. I can link the 2022 basis for this lawsuit in the comments.
Does that sound material to you from the stock valuation perspective?
Yes.
I rest my case.
I mean,
gentlemen.
people have been literally saying this for 10 years since Autopilot came out in 2014 and they started selling the FSD package in 2016. They said they're going to have to change the name. It hasn't happened. Even if they have to change the name, it's a name. It's honestly pretty hard to argue that the name Full Self-Driving doesn't apply when the thing can actually do entire drives on its own, hands-free now, on any ordinary car.
We have a lot of new listeners right now. This space, Tesla Live, is open to all bulls and bears. I don't block anybody. Everybody's welcome to request to speak. But if you don't get a chance to, get on the speaker board, you can also reply to the space with your question or to one of the tweets at the top. Your thoughts, your questions. If I see something good, I'll send you an invite as well. Grant.
Yeah, it's true. This has been going on for 10 years. I think that doesn't mean it'll go on forever. I think this is the event that will potentially bring it to a head. And I do think that being forced by the government to change the names of your products because they're misleading is a black eye for the brand. You can say it's not the case, but someone who's not spending their time in Tesla spaces like either of us, they'll absorb that news and be like, oh yeah, that was overpromised, and they can't actually drive themselves. Like, that's how it ping pongs around in the consciousness of an average American consumer, and that would be bad for Tesla.
Mishka.
So I wanted to ask you this, Grant. So you mentioned that like there's no Robotaxi that or at the very least the way that I understood it, and correct me if I'm wrong, that like the Robotaxi event and the full self driving thing is like kind of like, oh yeah, we want to do this, but they haven't like fully finished it. That's what you're saying, right?
Yep.
Okay. So then based off of that, I was just wondering, maybe this is my experience, but I would just like to understand what you classify this under. So, I drove over from Ann Arbor, Michigan, over to Peoria, Illinois, over on the 4th of July, and it was kind of dark for the most part as I was doing like a 6 p.m. to nearly midnight drive. And the car drove me on 12.4.3, completely hands free. I did not have to touch my wheel once the entire drive. All that I have to do is just, look forward. And sure, I agree that it's technically not full self driving since I still have to pay attention. But wouldn't that also mean that the car is full self driving? The only thing that they would have to do is comment out the line saying, "Oh, let's keep track of his eyes," because in my mind, at the very least, that wouldn't that be full self driving and pure autonomy if I have zero input and zero interventions throughout that close to 400-mile drive?
It's an L2 system. Elon agrees with that. I really don't want to spend the time arguing whether or not it's L2 versus L4 because any objective observer will agree it's an L2 system.
Okay.
All right. The stock is down 7%. It's near the low of the day. If Elon confirms or denies it, I rely on my listeners and speakers to bring it up and reply to the space because I'm just doing a lot of things at once right now. Stefan.
Yeah, I just have a comment regarding stock price. So I was just looking at the Tesla stock price. So it bumped up, in April after the announcement, but it was kind of steady. And one of the things that made me bullish about Tesla wasn't so much the Robotaxi, because that's the same old, for the last 10 years, is what the profit numbers are for storage, because that's growing like crazy. And there was a podcaster recently who pointed out that I don't know what year he picked. He picked 2026 or 2027, given the growth and the profit margin, and he used 40 times earnings multiples. And just based on storage, he came up with a price for Tesla, if it was just for energy storage, at like $400 a share. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. The Robotaxi, let's wait and see.
Grant, what do you think about that? Tesla Energy profits are obviously rising, margins are higher than automotive margins, and Tesla Energy just put up a massive installation number, 9 gigawatt hours, way more than anyone expected. And the gross margin number is probably going to be higher than people expect. Do you think that will support the stock for the rest of the year, maybe lead to another leg up?
I mean, the stock has gone up 50% the last month because of wild call buying. It's a gamma squeeze. I don't think that it's necessarily a broad market sentiment that is driving the stock up to this level. I don't know. I mean, the stock has already been given a lot of credit for a lot of upside beyond what a conventional automaker with the numbers that Tesla has on paper would be valued at. People can debate back and forth whether or not this run up is energy or the Robotaxi unveil. It's a lot of excitement about a lot of stuff that's pretty far off into the future. I don't know exactly what the balance of that excitement is between Optimus or Robotaxis or energy. I don't know.
Okay, we have Jimmy on board. Jimmy on board, everybody. Be careful. Everybody be ready. I am ready. My finger is on Jimmy right now. Jimmy, go ahead.
I think, can you hear me? Sorry, can you hear me first? I've had some issues with Twitter before.
Machine, go ahead. Wow, he lasted 3 seconds.
So, I, unlike you losers, I actually get out of the house once in a while. And I went on a nice trail run this morning, sunny, on top of Half Moon Bay through the cemetery, totally disrespecting the Skyline Cemetery, running shirtless through there. Everyone dead, wondering, why is this guy sweating on our bodies? And I come back just now, I'm eating breakfast. I open up X and I have some abnormal amount of notifications. I'm like, what's going on? I go look at the stock price. I'm like, oh, nice. my short position, I just made a bunch of money. And I'm just looking at all these notifications. I'm like, what's going on? Everyone's like, in your face, like, suck it, machine. I'm like, what's going on? And I look, and Omar tweets at me, how's your short position doing, machine? 2 hours ago. And I look at the price movement, and it looks like some people blew their load a little too early.
Did you catch that at the end? He didn't sound like he ended his sentence because he was thinking of a mom joke, and then he realized he would be burning himself. Is that not true? That is true.
No, it's not true. I just wanted to end in an odd way.
Okay. We now have 3 short sellers on board. Amazing. Amazing. I wonder whose position is bigger. Omar, what do you think about all this? Machine says you blew your load too early.
Well, I think Machine blew his load too early when he sold at the bottom, and I did blow my load too early. I agree. When I was with his mom last night.
Oh boy. I think this is the largest audience that we've had. 1,300 live listening to Machine's mom jokes. That's a record, Omar. Well, congratulations, Machine.
So I don't know if Omar's misremembering, but I didn't sell at the bottom. I'm the one who sold when I was all in last time at 260 because I was like, this doesn't make any sense. So no, I didn't sell at the bottom. In general, my moves have been successful. That doesn't mean I would suggest doing it. But anyways, I might close my short positions. I don't know. Like, I made money. I don't know what it's going to go down to. I don't
Machine,
expect.
what do you think about the top? What do you think about the question at the top? Do you think this news or the report is true or FUD?
I literally just opened my computer, so I don't even know what you're talking about.
Are you serious?
I'm serious. I just opened my computer. I'm going to review now. I have, again, someone tweeting at me in your face with Neil deGrasse Tyson. I don't like, what's going on?
Do you think the report that Tesla will delay Robotaxi unveil true or FUD?
That sounds like FUD.
Really?
I don't know any other information. They're going to delay the unveil that's supposed to be in less than a month. Like what?
Well, that's why the stock dropped today because of a Bloomberg article.
Right. So it sounds like FUD, and if I read through this and it sounds like FUD, then I'm definitely going to close my positions on FUD.
Wow, Grant?
Yeah, I mean, it's Reuters. I do think they're well sourced. A possibility that would be pretty spicy is that this is literally Tesla insiders begging Elon for more time, not getting it, trying to leak it so that they force the delay. And I would love it if Elon came back and said, no, it's 8.8, because in my mind, that would just solidify the chance that they roll out some shoddy half-built product. It's not like it matters, though. I mean, like, no one has any expectations around this Robotaxi. It's just going to be a Model 3. It's going to look futuristic. There won't be a back seat, and it'll have no steering wheel. Like, no one expects this to be out on roads anytime soon. No one knows if the actual technology will ever be able to operate as a Robotaxi. I don't think it really matters that much anyway, which makes it interesting to me that they do need to delay it, because they could have done it in a weekend and been like, here it is, it's amazing.
Man, it's amazing. I'm going through the replies and people are divided 50-50 right now, whether if this is true or FUD. Incredible. Man, this stuff just never gets old, never gets boring. Mishka.
Just to lighten the mood for a second and just say this. You know what? Maybe we're all looking at this very wrong. Maybe it's Jim Cramer that really caused for the stock to collapse. Maybe it's him saying that it's going to do good that really caused the full 180. Just want to make a little.
Definitely true. Uzi?
I'm just wondering if it's accurate to say that 6% of the run up or is related to Robotaxi based off what we saw today.
Yeah, I guess so. And Machine, question for you. you put on your short position 3 days ago, right? So you're not even, are you even break even yet?
Oh, I made. I'm just looking at it right now to calculate. I've made about 9% return total. My total
Wow,
positions.
congratulations.
So that's scaled in. No, I mean the majority. You start small, and if things get out of hand, I put in a little larger position each time. So the largest intakes were around 260, I think. But yeah, some of them were like 245, but that was a smaller position.
John Gold, I believe this is a first time speaker. Go ahead.
Hi guys, one question that I have. I hear everyone talking about Robotaxi and all of this stuff and energy, et cetera, but no one ever talks about semi. Any comments on what people think the impact of semi will have long term on the value of the stock?
Omar?
Yeah, so I mean, the Semi is a super exciting product. They unveiled it many years ago. They've had some prototype units in the hands of customers like Frito-Lay, PepsiCo, Costco, and they've got some good testing data out there, including independent third-party testing data. And, Semi really comes out ahead of everyone else. It's the only Semi that can really do fast charging at the level you need. So they really need to get that into volume production now. They're building a facility in Nevada to do that. Once they get that up and running, I mean, it's kind of unclear what the impact is going to be near term from the vehicle sales. I think Tesla did say, or Elon said it'll move the needle, whatever that means. But hard to really see what that looks like. And there's also really the question of battery supply. The thing has an 800 kilowatt hour battery for the long range version. So it needs as many batteries as 10 Model Y. So there is a little bit of a battery supply issue there. Long term, I think most of the value could really be from the Tesla network. If they're able to get FSD to run on the Semi, you look at the value of the freight shipping market, it's much larger than the rideshare market. So I think it could be a major contributor earnings, in the 5 to 10 year time horizon, assuming they can get it out, actually get it to volume production, produce it profitably, get enough cells, and get it to be autonomous eventually.
Thank you.
Fifth. Mishka.
One that I just got in my comments from Sean Cooper was does no one notice the CPI report impacting the entire S&P 500 today? TKQ is also down 7%. This may not have anything to do with the announcement date at all. And I've had a few other people messaging me the same thing too. And I guess I wanted to ask everybody about that as well. But also my theory behind it is I do think that S&P, I think the SPY index definitely is impacting the Tesla stock, and I do think that the Tesla stock might be down 7% right now because SPY is down. But also, I don't think if SPY was down today and the Bloomberg article was not posted, that Tesla would close in red. At the very least, that's my theory, and I want to kind of hear what everybody else thinks, because I do think that the article here, whether it's FUD or not, is the catalyst that caused for the Tesla, resistance that was fighting the SPY index from, collapsing, at the very least for the Tesla side of it. The Tesla, resistance that was fighting the SPY index from, collapsing, at the very least for the Tesla side of it. I feel like that was the, thing that broke it.
Fifth.
The stock moved down, I actually looked at I Googled Tesla to see what might have been going on. And I think the Washington Post had an article come out 40 minutes ago asking if self-driving was a fraud. And it goes through a lot of the allegations, lawsuits, California DMV situation. So I thought that might have been a part of it as well. I don't know if people have a perception there.
Machine, what do you think?
Wasn't paying attention. What was
Omar?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is really why we potentially haven't even seen the start of this Tesla run up yet. Bulls and bears alike are kind of in denial. What really surprises me is even the bulls don't really understand this. Is that the hardware 3 model that they've got is already doing drives without any intervention, hands free. I mean, it's really good. Is it perfect? No. But it's very, very rare to have a safety critical intervention. Now we know that they're bringing up a data center with 50,000 UH100s. They're scaling up compute. They're training a model with a 5 times larger parameter account. They're scaling data. There's a lot of signs that, they haven't plateaued at all. It's actually going to continue to get even better from here, as crazy as that is. I mean, it's already kind of becoming a robo-taxi-like experience when you're sitting there and you just give it destinations and it's able to just take you there, pull into the parking lot, park itself. So, I mean, these coming versions of the model, 12.5, 12.6, the next gen version of the model that's 5 times larger, I think it really is just going to drive the point home. And, bulls are still bears are still trying to claim it's a fraud. I mean, I just have to laugh. It's just so incredible to be sitting around and having this thing do all the drives, and bears are saying it's a fraud. I mean, this is a technical achievement we've never seen before. There's no other self-driving software that can do this in the world. And even bulls are in denial. They've been kind of, just waiting for so long that a lot of them think, okay, well, if I haven't seen an update go out, they're not actually working on anything.
Yeah.
And I think by the end of the year, they're probably going to have a higher rate of miles per intervention than Waymo's test fleet does today.
Interesting news that Uber stock is up on the news, up about 4% on the news that Tesla may be delaying its robotaxi event. Huh. That's interesting. I'll pin this at the top. Mishka.
And Omar, to bounce off of what you said, let's be honest. According to the entire Twitter community, or well, X community, and according to just about every bear out there, you're a show. You're a fake. You're a fraud. Clearly, you're paid by Elon and all that stuff. But I feel like if we completely ignore even you for a second because of all of these alleged rumors, I feel like just about everybody with 12.4.3 has been having really good feedback about it, especially from 12.3.6. And I mean, I know myself, for example, in my area where I drive in Michigan, it's flawless now. So, regardless of, even like, and don't worry, like, I'm not discrediting what you're saying at all. Like, 100% agree with you. But a lot of bears discredit what you say. And I feel like when the community also, like, comes up and says, hey, listen, like, FSD is, you can call it a fraud, but I know my vehicle drove 400 miles without me touching the wheel, and I feel like a fucking badass driving this car. Like, I can't see myself buy another
You
vehicle
can't
without full
curse
self-driving
in
ever.
this space. You can't curse in the space. This is immediate removal.
Yeah, but it's too late. He already did it. So,
well, hopefully they'll take my lesson. Grant.
Yeah, just on 12.4.3, when I searched it on Twitter yesterday, sorted by latest and looked, I think half of the people felt it was a regression. I retweeted a bunch of them yesterday evening. Encourage people to just do their own research on that front rather than listening to people here saying that it's universally applauded, because that's not true. And then just to some of the characterizations that people were making around, oh, bears all say it's a fraud. I just want to make sure it's clear that the Washington Post is raising the question and exploring whether or not what they've done is fraudulent. I also linked the California DMV suit in the comments. I think it's worth reading that, because that's exactly where you can see the case laid out pretty clearly and in a detailed way around the incongruity between like what Elon has actually said and what the company has delivered.
Machine.
The Washington Post are total shills for Jeff Bezos. All they do is negative articles on Tesla FSD. It's been that way for years. So I don't trust them.
Stithmaster, you have to unmute yourself for us to hear you.
Alrighty, hey guys. Well, I am an ex-truck driver, and we were talking, or y'all were talking about the Tesla Semi. It's awesome from the looks of it, and I'd love to drive it, but you got to convince the drivers to want to drive it. And until it gets to a minimum of 1,000 miles in range, like a diesel will, they're not going to touch it. Hands down, they won't.
Omar.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Grant that you should do your own research. And that means get a Tesla, buy one ideally, rent one if you don't want to buy one, and go drive around and try it. That's a great way to do research. Searching tweets and trying to figure out whether the sentiment is positive or negative on those tweets is not going to give you a good example. I mean, I posted a tweet yesterday where I said, hey, I wish that it would drive faster. It's kind of keeping a big gap in some situations. It feels kind of slow. Just because I'm giving constructive feedback doesn't mean that it's not something I use every day. The hands-free isn't a big step. Miles per intervention isn't dramatically improved. I mean, every new version is slow. So sort of going based off anecdotal experience and saying, okay, well, this guy, says he doesn't like it. I mean, sometimes somebody will say they don't like it just if they're having a bad day, if they're annoyed. Maybe there was some random thing that happened. Really just get behind the wheel and see it for yourself and see if you think it's a fraud. When you get in the car and it can take you from curb to curb to any destination you can think of, hands-free, without intervention.
Where did that come from?
Michael points out in the comments that Lyft stock is also up, spiked on the news, on the reports, not the news, on the reports that Tesla may be delaying its Robotaxi event. We're still waiting for confirmation or denial from Elon if he gets around to it. And as Omar mentioned at the beginning of the space, it's better to just wait for confirmation. And we have a number of bears who are short in the stock today. Magic, Grant, and Machine. They're all on board trying to push the stock lower so that their short positions make money. How dare you, Machine? Shame on you.
That's ridiculous slander. I do know FUD. I'm the most ethical person on the space in the history. And, for full disclosure now, because this is what happened last time. I can't remember what it was. There was some FUD at the end of last year. And I was like, this sounds like some ridiculous rumor. And I was like, I close my shorts on rumors because as soon as someone corrects it, the stock goes back up. And Elon, that time I closed it, and literally 30 minutes later, Elon said, not true. And the stock blew back up. So in the meantime here, while you guys are all twiddling around, I closed my short positions.
Wow, interesting. Interesting. Let's hear from Habib.
Hello, Omar, Machine, Grant, Earl. Just a quick question. What do you think the actual delay is if this story is true? Because I would think the minimum viable product to demonstrate on 8.8 isn't that difficult compared, you have a vehicle, no steering wheel, you already have this amazing software, and on a closed course, put in some destination and watch the car go, pick up someone and come back, and boom. So what is the actual delay if there was to be one here?
Well, according to the article, they want to build more prototypes.
Do you think they only showed one Roadster when they released it or when they demonstrated it. Why would that be such a thing to delay this on?
I mean, I don't have any information, obviously. I don't know if this story's true or not. So we'll wait to see what Elon actually has to say. But my understanding is that they've confirmed they want to give demo rides at the event. So, just showing the thing, I think, is okay. Anybody can show a vehicle and say, hey, this is a prototype of a vehicle without any controls. I mean, even Rimac unveiled a Robotaxi. Actually having people sit in it, show it working, show it handling some crazy scenarios, that could be something that really leaves a lasting impression on analysts and shareholders who attend.
Very good. Thank you. We have a comment from Ranger the Dog in YouTube live chat who says, if 8.8 is delayed, Tesla has to make it up to us by posting on October 31st, also a Thursday, and Elon has to do the presentation in a Halloween costume. Magic?
Hey, so I know that everything that is negative is FUD, but again, I have a list of news articles here that organizations that I've heard people say spread FUD. I have a list of Bloomberg, Reuters, Washington Post, and Business Insider. So both good, so no good news from you guys. Should ignore the good news if you want to ignore the bad news, right? And my second question is, what news article, what news organization do you trust? Is it only whatever comes out of Elon's mouth, or all news organizations are fake news?
Okay. Magic, are you short the stock? Did you double down last night after we talked?
I added a little bit, but not as much as I hoped.
Okay. Grant?
Yeah, going back to the question of why they would delay, it's, there are a lot of possibilities there. I think that if it is to do with additional models, that would be interesting. I did tweet a prediction a couple days ago that if this event needs to lean on, some like Optimus prototype getting trotted out to get people more excited or additional models being unveiled, it's a good sign that the company doesn't have confidence that this Robotaxi and this day, which they had described, I think, Omar, I've heard you describe it as something that people will be talking about 100 years from now, doesn't, have enough pump factor to stand on its own. They need other stuff to be trotted out to keep the investor excitement up. I think that that's a very bad sign.
Echo round.
Hi, can you hear me? Sorry, just
We can't hear you. Just for fun. Just for fun?
Yeah, no, my question was going to be along the lines of what someone already asked around, what would be the reason for the delay? Because it seems like just revealing one prototype, shouldn't be reason for a delay, because that's pretty easy to do relatively.
Machine.
Yeah, it's hard to speculate exactly what they were planning on doing. To me, it sounds like if there really was a delay, then something was more involved than we were expecting to begin with. But what's more interesting to me is that if, as Omar says, that this price action moving up from 180 to 260, 270 was totally based on fundamentals, then why did the stock drop 7% on some dumb delay of the Robotaxi demo? That has nothing to do with fundamentals.
Why do you have to be so rude?
Actually, I have a question for the shorts. These other guys. How do you feel that I exited my short position already? Does that make you anxious?
Magic? Are you anxious?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm shaking in my boots right now.
Grant?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm not playing for like the 4% dub. I'm playing for something more substantial here.
Long term.
We've seen all these photos of these other Tesla vehicles with the cameras in the back window where supposedly the Robotaxi cameras are going to be. Is it possible that there's something going on with those cameras? They have to move them or something?
Omar?
I mean, I don't think it necessarily has anything to do with the cameras. I mean,
Yeah, maybe listen. You never know. You never know, right? Maybe there is a 1% chance that Elon woke up this morning and realized lidar is the answer after denying it for 10 years.
I mean, at the end of the day, it is not really that big of a deal. Do I want the event to be on 8/8? Absolutely. I'm super excited for this event. More than, any impact on price action, I was just really excited to see it, so it's disappointing. But is 2 months going to kill us? No. If it makes the event better and they have to do it, then so be it.
Bob.
Hey, can you hear me?
Nope. It's amazing how AI works these days. Once you ask, "Can you hear me?" Just we can't hear you anymore. Interesting. Alex, how are you doing?
Doing good, you?
Good.
Still can't see me when I enter the room?
I promise you. I promise you, I cannot see most of the people. There's
Then how
some
do you
sort
know
of a
I'm
bug
there?
because you followed me, and I'm like, okay, he must be in here.
Mm-hmm. Okay. It's
Yeah.
very sus. Very sus, all this.
What do you think about all this? Do you think this is true or FUD?
I don't know. Who cares? 2 months. Really? Yeah, it would be been cooler if it had been on August, but if it's not in August and it's October, what does it matter? Like 2 months
Well,
is nothing.
I agree. I agree with you. But one thing that is kind of interesting is when 8/8 event was set, people thought it was a lucky number in China.
Yeah.
What's the October? Where is that lucky number in?
Well, you know how Elon is. He likes to drive the people, like set deadlines. And it's not just Elon, it's like human nature. Like if your deadline is too far away, people will procrastinate and everything. So it's possible that 8/8 might have been too ambitious, and set back to October. And it still hasn't been confirmed. So, before we make like judgment calls on this, I feel like, let's wait and see what comes out of it, whether it's confirmed or not. This is like still Dana Hall. That's, I think,
And Ed Lowe. Ed also.
Ludlow. Yeah, but and they're just, they might have just been said by somebody, like an email or something. And it's also suspicious because I don't think this would have been like a mass wide email to all of the company. You know what I mean? This would have been like to a small group, and then for that information to leak, I don't know. It seems kind of dangerous knowing that you could be like fired and prosecuted for leaking such information that have such material impact on the stock afterwards. I don't know. Anyway, I don't think it's a big deal. I'm not worried about it. I'm not even thinking about it. So, if other people want to make a big deal, it's like that whole marketing thing about autopilot FSD. Like, who cares? Who cares what you call something? Right? It's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
like this is just more lawfare trying to like, and it gives news cycle that because they can use like fraudulently called it autopilot or this or that. All the planes have autopilot in it. There's a button that says autopilot, and nobody's freaking out that you cannot press that button and just go to sleep. So anyway, always FUD.
All right. Thank you. Bill about Joe.
This is a buying opportunity. Look at every run Tesla's had in its history. They all have days like this. And can you hear me?
Yep.
Nope. Magic.
Yeah, I agree. This is definitely a buying opportunity. I want everybody here to buy on margin, please. All you can ask your parents for whatever allowance advance you have. Take your dad's retirement money, please. For the love of God, you're going to be rich. It's going to be $2,000 a share, please, everybody.
Check your couch cushions. Also, there might be some change in there too.
Machine.
I'm really optimistic about the potential of robotaxis for reducing injury rates. Even L2 systems reducing injury rates. I really hope to see improved statistics over the next few years. Back in 2007, I was riding my bicycle in Brazil, and I was hit by a car and smashed my orbital bone and wrist. So I had to get surgery and all that. I remember, the driver was totally incompetent. Just said sorry to me. So that was nice. Uninsured, and I didn't know what he was doing. And I don't know. It was sad. And eventually he fled the country to Canada. Alex.
Really? Is this like a true story, or are you just making it up?
Everything except for it being you. It wasn't you. But yeah, it was a true story.
All right.
So the head trauma basically explains everything. Thank you for clarifying.
Exactly. That's not the first time I hit my head either. So yeah.
Yeah, your mom
CTE,
told
my
me
friends.
stories.
All right, Omar, what else is on your radar before these two get into it in Portuguese?
I mean, look, it's just, so funny to see everybody just panicking again, going back into panic mode. Overall, I think we got some pretty good news today with the CPI. That's going to be far more material to the next few quarters than what day they unveil the cybercab. So that, I think, is looking pretty positive for Tesla and the EV sector in general, really. And yeah, I think there's a lot of things in the core business that are sort of quietly improving, and not too many people are taking notice of it. The Shanghai mega factory, once it's under construction, I think will be able to grow energy to at least double the volumes we're seeing today on a sustained basis, and with higher margins than we're seeing today. And I think there's really a growing recognition that the AI trends we're seeing, the energy trends we're seeing, are really going to be pushing demand of these stationary batteries much higher than people expected. So I think, Shirley Meng from the University of Chicago said we're going to need hundreds of thousands of gigawatt hours of batteries. So it's pretty crazy just to think about the scale of battery production that we need to ramp up, both on the EV and the stationary side. That's really what this is about at the end of the day. I mean, you look at some of these readings out of China. What's his name from Bloomberg? Tom from Bloomberg had a good story out. $54 a kilowatt hour at the cell level for LFP, $75 a kilowatt hour at the pack level. So $100 a kilowatt hour was considered the point where EVs reach price parity. They're below that. And indeed, a full electric is one of the cheapest cars that you can get in China. So big picture, what matters? Battery cost declines, long-term demand for these battery products, interest rates coming down, of which today's CPI reading is another good step in the direction of those rates eventually coming down. I'm pretty
Yep.
happy when I see those things.
It looks like you all started tweeting. Buddy.
Hey everybody! Actually, just saw that Elon was tweeting as well. I posted it in the comments, but just wanted to reiterate some of the positions that were on here. Is I don't think that this changes anything, even if they do push this date back. But I was wondering how many of you guys were calculating not just the robotaxis, but also the Optimus robots, along with the rest of kind of the ARC thesis by Kathy Wood into your assessments.
Before we change topics, Alex.
Well, it goes a little bit to it, but I wanted to add to what Omar was saying. It's like there's a lot of talk about, okay, the rates and everything, that's good for the stock, but like more fundamentally to all that, there's like the approach Tesla is taking to solving problems and how they're executing on it. And as long as that remains like top notch, all the rest is basically noise. Maybe it's like noise that depresses the stock for a few months, and then it goes back up. But that's the fundamental thing. I was listening and I posted about it. A recent interview with Jim Keller, who talks about his time at Tesla and everything. And he actually touches, like, on Waymo. He says, yeah, they're pretty good in San Francisco, but their approach is like shit. So, but Tesla has the right approach to FSD and robotaxis. So in that sense, I feel like when true experts in their field, he's been like a microprocess engineer for like 40 years, basically tells you like that. I tend to listen to that more than to people who pontificate on the competition is coming, or the demand right now is weak, or all these things. Those things don't matter. The real thing that matters at the end of the day is what are they doing and how are they executing it. That's my thought.
K10, how are you?
I am good. I am jumping in. I haven't been in here forever. How are you, Yaman?
I'm good. It's a busy day. The stock is volatile. Do you have any views on whether this news is true or FUD?
I don't think it's real. I think it's funny. A lot of people are commenting on it, the Bloomberg and the different that the event's going to be pushed back. I mean, I don't believe it until I see Elon post on it. So it definitely, I think, might be making people nervous because everybody and their dog. I mean, Dan Ice posted on it, so I think that's interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. I'm also, in the meantime, looking through Elon's tweets. Let's see if he confirms or denies it. No. Go ahead.
Yeah, I personally don't think it's real. I think he would have commented already. I mean, just look at back when the Robotaxi was announced, and he commented on the cancellation rumor or the $25,000 EV. I think if it was real, he would have commented on it already. So, it's my personal.
Isn't the opposite true? Machine, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, he's going to comment on it as he has in the past. If it's not true, he's going to say something. He's been, at least in the last year, that's what he's been doing, battling the FUD.
All right. I could do something right now. What else is on your radar? I don't know. Nothing. I don't know. Nothing. Ishka.
Or more quickly. And then since no one's saying anything, I guess I'll make a wild speculation and say that the delays because of delays to the cheaper models and not the Robotaxi itself, which I think he could have easily roll out at any time because it wouldn't actually be delivered until far into the future. So it doesn't matter when that announcement is. So prediction is the delay is due to the cheaper models that they're working on, and that those will come out soon after the event.
Jimmy.
Legacy Auto. Why are we still not talking about this?
What happened?
Well, the US government is trying to get Legacy Auto caught up to EVs by basically opening plants. It was like $1.7 billion is going to Legacy Auto here.
Omar, did you hear about this? Jeff posted something that Elon just replied to. Let me pull it up. At the top of your screens is a tweet by Jeff. this is unbelievable. Why would the US DOE POTUS give money away, US grants, to Chinese-owned Geely, Volvo parents, and Hyundai for EV production at zero to the American leader EV Tesla? And Elon said, this is odd indeed. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Tesla has been a huge beneficiary of the IRA in many ways. The consumer tax credit, for example, the production side credits. But I mean, it is a little odd that they're giving grants to non-American companies. Of course, these companies have production facilities here in the United States, and I would imagine the grants are for their U.S. facilities. So, you know, it's whatever. Um, Not really surprising if you're familiar with this administration.
I mean, these grants don't go into effect immediately, right? I think this is just a ploy to get voters for the Democratic organization because they could just all be shut down as soon as like Republicans take over office.
I think it's specifically targeted to unionized labor. So of course Tesla doesn't get a piece of that pie.
Mishka.
All right. I don't know what's going on with X Spaces. I feel like Elon should, fix up the whole audio thing. But I also wanted to say about the new post that was that you tagged up there, Yaman, the why the US DOE like give money to US grants and all that. I just wanted to like spark up the question on, isn't it strange that, or at the very least, like, what is everybody's input on the fact that the government's giving so much money to all of these groups, that are like unionized? The whole internet thing that happened, where if I don't remember what the article was, but I remember hearing it on this space, where if they would have just bought the Starlink, it just would have been way more effective than whatever they did with billions of dollars. And I'm just curious, and because I'm also uninformed on this, what is the reason on why the government's not as supportive of Tesla and like all that versus all the unionized companies?
So JR reminds me to remind everybody that this space is supported by my patrons. If it wasn't for the patrons, this space would not be possible. So if you'd like to support the space, sign up for Patreon. The link is in my bio. Steven.
If this delay is true, I'm thinking it's more, I think Tesla's going to launch in a couple cities and maybe some of the paperwork is delayed.
Okay, so this is now the third person who's suggesting this. JB earlier said the same thing. Omar, what do you think is the probability that the delay is due to Tesla waiting for paperwork from municipalities?
It's possible, but that's probably not what it is. I don't think there's a lot of paperwork required. I mean, this event is, from what I understand, being held at a rocket factory. So, there's a lot of stuff that happens there. I don't think they need a permit to, run an autonomous car around the block. Maybe if they wanted to run it on streets or something, they might need a permit, but that's probably not what it is. I would think that if this is true, it's probably just what the article said, that they need more time to build prototypes and make sure they're working.
My hypothesis is that they're launching in the city. Like they're waiting to launch in cities at the same time, not just a product, but they're going to launch in a city in agreement with cities.
No way. I don't see it. I think this is just going to be a vehicle unveil. If they want to do a, permit application or something like that, that can happen in parallel to this. I don't think the unveiling event really has anything to do with any regulatory approval events.
So all the China noise about maybe getting approval to launch in China.
Yeah, I mean, people always kind of let their imaginations run wild with these kinds of things. I think it's hopeful at best to say that because the date is 8/8, they're gonna be launching a service in China somewhere.
Steven, I believe this is your first time speaking, right? Are you invested in Tesla? What percent of your portfolio? You don't have to share these personal details if you don't want to, totally fine. But can you give us a couple sentences about your background?
Yeah, I work in tech. 90% of my wealth is in Tesla. And for tax loss harvesting, I run a Turo business in Tampa, running out the Cybertruck and the Rivian and the Ford Lightning.
Thank you. Mishka.
To also bounce off of what Omar said, I don't think the Tesla event is really going to be delayed because of regulatory reasons. So I do believe that this Bloomberg article is either true for something we do not know of, or it is FUD. Because knowing Tesla, they don't really, well, they like big announcements, but I feel like the Cybertruck and like the Roadster are great examples of where they're willing to show a product without it being finished and still, putting on delays. And also, especially with their cars, they don't really do like major, 2024 model, 2023 model. It's just they do updates as they come out. And I feel like the whole regulatory thing would just be a later on thing, kind of, adding on to it. So I don't think that that's the case to whoever said that, but I could be wrong.
Jimmy.
2 minutes ago, Elon responded on X saying Starlink Mini is now out and everybody should buy a Starlink Mini because they're pretty awesome.
Jimmy. It's funny. Machine, what do you think about the CPI numbers that came out this morning?
I just saw they came in under estimates. Looks okay.
Do you think there's a cut coming soon? And how do you think that's going to reflect on the stock price?
Regardless, just they're fine. Like I don't think we have high inflation. I don't know if we're really in a deflationary risk profile either. So until we really get signs of deflation, I don't think much should be done about interest rates.
Wow. So you don't recommend a cut. Okay. So you closed out your short position. Did you go long?
No, not yet. No.
Okay. Bogdan?
Yes, hi, Aman. Do you guys think Tesla might slowly start raising prices if they guys want to start cutting rates? Thanks.
We just talked about that, Bogdan. Omar, what do you think?
It's too early to say. Often rates don't come down without some significant economic weakness that warrants stimulus. So you could see rates coming down and, the economy's weak and it's still a weak sales environment. So it's difficult to predict, but if there is strong demand, then you could raise prices. But right now, I think they're kind of significantly under capacity. They could be producing 2 million units easily if they wanted to. So once you see really production get above 500K, and if demand is still continuing to grow faster than supply, then you might see them raise prices. But I'm not sure when exactly that might happen or if it would happen.
Mishka.
For oh my goodness, I just lost track of the question. Oh yeah, for Uber, because this is also something else that you put up, Yaman. I'm just curious, why would people invest into Uber right now, versus Tesla, even because of a delay? Just from a kind of thought process, because wouldn't it ultimately still possibly mean that Tesla would overtake it, or are people currently doing that based on the bet that Tesla FSD and Robotaxi just will not ever exist?
Yeah, this is a really good question, and I think that we should explore further in future spaces as well. I think the idea that Tesla robotaxis will end Uber anytime soon is exaggerated, and so to the extent that people are shorting Uber or selling their stock in Uber because of an imminent robotaxi service launch, I think might be is worthy of discussion. Omar, what do you think on that?
Yeah, obviously, Uber is a huge global service with a product name that's synonymous with the category. So I don't think they're going to disappear overnight. Does autonomy potentially pose a long-term threat to the business? Absolutely. I think even the founder admitted that. But they could also capitalize on the business if they are able to actually get autonomous services on their platform. You could see volumes grow significantly, right? So the future is kind of unclear for Uber. They're going through a major disruption, and the business may suffer or it may grow a lot because of it. I think it's too early to tell. But Tesla obviously has no rideshare network today, right? So they're not posing an immediate threat to Uber anytime soon. Once they actually start launching and start expanding, maybe we can sort of examine the competitive dynamics, but it's too early there. And Waymo obviously is not really a competitive threat to Uber. They're far too limited in scale. They are, only operating in a few markets. They own their own cars. They can't compete with Uber's model of drivers owning their own cars and supply being able to be adjusted dynamically based on pricing. So I agree with you, Man, that it is a little premature. Long term, is it a potential disruption? Absolutely, but too early to call it right now or make a trade based off it with what we have right now in terms of visibility.
Thank you. Stephen.
Kind of going back to the comment about the rates and the effect on Tesla. So Tesla went through a little bit of hell by having, a factory and a half too much in a downturn with high rates. And since 2019, all the most popular car models in the world are down 30%. And that's going to switch. You saw what happened when Tesla offered low rates. People with excellent credit jumped on it because people don't want to waste money on paying the bank more than getting more car, right? So that didn't affect like a lot of lower class income people because they don't qualify for the 0%. So once rates start to come down, Tesla just has to run more shifts, and the auto business is going to be very, very profitable and running at full tilt in the next 12 to 18 months. So like this is when you buy auto companies in the middle of an auto recession like we are in right now. So the normal auto business is going to be incredibly lucrative in the next few months.
Stephen, you didn't answer my question from earlier. Do you have any call options?
Yes, I have calls and I have shares.
Yeah.
But they're all leaps though. I don't have any short-term call options.
Gotcha. Machine.
The fact is that the Fed put the environment in such a low interest rate environment that was abnormal, and back a few years ago, and that's not something that's coming back. I wouldn't expect extremely low interest rates again. I do think eventually we will cut interest rates 2%, but we're not going back to this like 0%. So I think loans will go down a bit, and that will give Tesla a bit more pricing power, and you will get better margins. But we're not going back to the margins that we had before. We should be able to get gross margins above 20%, but we're not getting near 30% again in aggregate. So, I think from a valuation perspective, people need to keep that in mind.
Wait a second. Wait, hold on. Hold the mic. So you're predicting the overall gross margin isn't going to get back to 30%, or automotive, or what specifically?
I'm just talking about automotive, like not FSD, just the automotive gross margins.
Okay. So you believe Tesla's automotive gross margin will get to 20%. When?
Oh, it might take a few years.
Okay,
I'm not
and what
sure.
do you
I don't
expect
see
for
interest rates
Q2
aren't coming
margins?
down right away.
What do you expect for Q2 margins?
What do I think Q2 margins are? They're probably going to be lower. They could be lower than Q1. I don't know. It's hard to say. There was the APR financing for some vehicles in some markets. I defer to someone who's done a lot more analysis to say if it's going to be higher or lower than Q1.
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, this is an interesting topic. Gross margin for automotive specifically. Okay, I know we've been talking about Optimus and FSD and energy and everything, but automotive obviously is a big part of the business still, and it's going to be like that for a while. And the automotive gross margin is a topic that everyone's dismissing this quarter.
Tesla's at
Because
20% automotive gross margins at the same price at more volume in Texas and Berlin.
yeah,
It's that
Stephen. So one rule we have here that you wait on mute and raise your hand. If you're not okay with the rules, you can leave the space.
Got it. Thank you.
Omar?
So I think within the next 4 to 8 quarters, there's the potential to retake a 30% gross margin on the automotive side. And longer term, let's call it within the next 3 to 4 years, I think there's a potential for an automotive gross margin of around 40%, which may sound kind of crazy. But if you kind of think about it, it's not as crazy as it sounds. So, we've had a lot of sort of margin compressing environmental factors. For example, in this high rate environment, people want to avoid financing cars. So what you've seen is people try and buy cash, right? If you can, just pay for it in cash. So really get the cheapest model, the base model, and just pay for it in cash. And then you don't have to worry about the interest. Because even savvy people who have the money, they understand, to them, interest is wasting money. It's more than the actual price of the product. So they really dislike that part of the cost more than, say the $2,000 for the wheel or something like that, which isn't, going to lead to depreciation versus what they bought it for. So people have really been trying to choose the cheaper models. If they do finance it, they want to finance as little as possible, right? You don't want to buy an $8,000 FSD package and finance that at 6% or 9% interest rates. So rates coming down, people will naturally skew to the higher paint trims, the better wheels, the better interior, the FSD option. They'll naturally skew a little bit higher. And you'll be selling almost the same car for almost the same cogs for a little bit of a higher price, maybe, a few $1,000s more. So that'll be accretive to margin. At the same time, the company has gone through sort of a massive cost discipline from this sort of belt tightening they've had to do as sales have declined. And that'll have a positive impact on COGS, on OPEX as well. And finally, we have the potential of an incoming Republican administration. The Inflation Reduction Act, although it has provided stimulus for a lot of buyers and the ability to get a $7,500 point of sale credit if you qualify, it's also put a price cap on the Model 3 and the Model Y. And that's also limited, in some cases, people's ability to add options. So as these factors alleviate, I would see them potentially getting into a high 20s or 30% gross margin, close to record gross margins on the vehicle business, especially as Cybertruck comes down. If they're able to maintain the pricing, I think that should help a lot. And longer term, when I talk about the 40% gross margin, I think you're really seeing as a trend, as cars become autonomous and people are spending more and more time in the vehicle, a greater and greater percentage of your day might be spent in the vehicle. I think consumers will be more willing to upgrade the car, go for a nicer car, nicer interior, maybe go for the long range, get other options on their car. If they see more value in it, let's say, better seats, whatever, because they're spending so much time there every day.
Thank you. JR says in the comments, I honestly think the stock dips way more if Elon confirms the delay. We also have Robert Scoble coming up. And before that, let's go to Amuris. Amuris, go ahead. You have to unmute yourself for us to hear you. Amuris. Just data, go ahead.
So I was wanting to go back to the comment on LiDAR. As most know, I live in the Noe Valley area of San Francisco, which was over the last 7 years, Waymo did most of its product testing, usually parked in the Safeway, making its way around and doing a pass through the city that was about 3.5 miles long. Over the last 5 months, we've seen now 12 vehicles, which are Teslas that have a LiDAR rack mounted on the roof. These are not the Zoox vehicles. That's different. These are not the other two competitors, but it's just a LiDAR rack on the top. So this was going back to the regulation or questioning if Tesla is going to approve or attempt to test out a cyber taxi in the city, they may have to add a roof rack of LiDAR just to get past the existing regulations or the way in which Waymo was approved, but Cruise ultimately was unapproved. So it's really just an analysis comment. It's only 8 or 10 vehicles. I only see them 4 or 5 times a day. It's not like when the Cruise and the Waymo vehicles were moving out at the same time. So it's a much lower number. There's just not as many. So that's all.
Thank you. Robert, how are you?
Tired. I just got into Prague, where an Uber picked me up and took me to the hotel, so I got to study robotaxis afresh.
What do you think about this news, Robert? The report that Tesla is to delay a robotaxi unveil. Do you think it's true or FUD?
Wouldn't shock me.
Yeah.
They need to get an answer for airports like this one if they're going to serve the Tesla community properly and be a proper Uber killer. Uber is the official taxi of the airport. So how are you going to get Uber ripped out of the airport and a Tesla taxi put in? Needs more time.
Hello.
Amuris, go ahead.
Yes, I want to go back a little bit to when we were discussing the Washington Post FSD fraud or not fraud issues. I just can't get over that Jeff Bezos, owns the Washington Post. He has contracts with NASA, and Elon Musk have contracts with NASA and all that. And for the longest time, um, Jeff Bezos' space program had not been able to come up and do anything about the contracts. And not only that, but on top of that, they had the guts to sue SpaceX a while back, and that was dismissed and didn't get to go to court or anything like that. However, they never questioned or called SpaceX, not SpaceX, Jeff Bezos' space company a fraud. And I think that is the biggest fraud in that area, in the space area. SpaceX, Jeff Bezos' space company a fraud. And I think that is the biggest fraud in that area, in the space arena. And Jeff Bezos, they have go back and use the memory or the facts, from a little bit ago. So to come up and put things into real perspective between Elon Musk companies and other people's company before calling Elon Musk or any of the products a fraud. I mean, Elon has a long history of he probably overpromises as far as date is concerned, but everything that he had promised had come to fruition. I see Machine calling calling it a fraud also and shorting Tesla. And he actually, I don't know if he's trying to play fool or just be contradictory. And
He doesn't have to play fool.
oh, there you go. There you go, Omar. Yeah, I mean, that is really, it's like trying to be funny or joke or something like that. But, Elon is constantly having to prove himself. And every time he comes through, Neuralink, even SpaceX recently had been called by the New York Times, insensitive to the verge with a false article, not relying on facts. It's really very tiring, and it's an old game, and we have to come and the defense and all that. I mean, I think that we are the one being played on by these people coming up with all arguments and falsehoods and thoughts and all
Yeah.
that.
Let's give
Yeah,
Machine a word since you called him out. Machine.
I'm not sure what did I call Elon a fraudster? Like, what is it?
Sir, it says in your eye. You don't have to say it. We can read it in your eye.
The only thing I've ever said along those lines is that back in 2016, 2017, when he was claiming robotaxis were coming very soon, was definitely on the edge of lying. And I know this because I know what that hardware was capable of, because I have that hardware, and that hardware couldn't even handle the raw images coming in, and two of them, literally two at a time. That's it. And it had to downsample them. So I knew him saying back then that it was going to be Robotaxi on that hardware there's no way it was true. But since then, I think he's mostly aspirational, and stretching the truth. And you just need to take it with a grain of salt.
Thank you, Machine. Yeah, Amorous Machine is a good guy, I think. And he plays both sides of the trade. But most of the time, he's just being sarcastic. Is stretching the truth himself to sound more interesting than he is, because he doesn't have that much intelligence, and he just have to make it up for it somehow, which is okay.
Damn, I haven't
Mich-
been in this room for a few days and it's gotten mean in here.
Mishka.
I wanted to also bring up the question of I guess if this is true, and let's say the event is delayed and all of that, is it really
Mishka,
likely?
before that, I want to give a word to Machine to defend
Go for it.
himself.
Yeah. Well, I think, just big picture here, you notice all these people attacking me, and that's because, very simple, I trade both sides, and they get angry. There's a lot of emotional attachment here between bulls and their baby daddy, Elon. Just like, this weird emotional entanglements, both bears and bulls, that, please mute yourself. I'm Maurice. Thank you. That the bears are so hateful of Musk because they're jealous of his success. They actually try to take it down and say it was not possible. His daddy gave him mines, and he paid for his way to the U.S. and all his success is because he was already rich or whatever else. They try to take him down because it makes them feel better. But at the same time, bulls just like hang on to everything he does as gospel. There's no possibility of being incorrect or saying a falsehood. And I play the middle because I'm the only rational one, and it makes everyone angry.
It's just that you some of your arguments, things that you state and all that, they're just no accurate. That's the beef that I have with you in that regard.
Like what?
I've been using. I had a in 2016. I had my first Tesla. It was a Model S, and I was using at the time it was Mobile Eye, and I was telling you, up until the point where there was a breakup with Mobileye and Vision was started, Mobileye was doing pretty well. So I think that the hardware with that software was doing just fine. I don't think that it was overpowered or anything like that. The car was behaving each time more and more accurate to the point I remember, it was even avoiding potholes sometimes. So that is not true that the hardware couldn't keep up. When Tesla shifted to vision, there was a long time before the second and third updates and so forth. So people, vision at the beginning was really horrible. It was something put together quickly because they had to replace Mobileye and all that. But it was pretty good. And then vision had to evolve. That's when we had the uh, Tesla has, version 3, hardware version
Yeah.
3. And
We have quite a few hands in the air right now, so we're gonna keep it a little short, tight. Let's go, Kristen.
That was really interesting, the interaction there between Machine and Amaris. Machine said that that Elon stated in 2016 about Robotaxi, but I can't find anything where Elon tweeted about it, posted about it. And then I was gonna say he said that Elon's our daddy, all these bulls that like worship everything that he says, but by default, wouldn't Elon be Machine's like estranged sugar daddy that he makes money off of? Like that he does really well as he has to keep the ties and the strings to him?
Omar, Machine, you have
So
enough talk. Enough. You enough talking.
we just had another headline come down the terminal. Tesla Robotaxi design team was told this week to rework certain elements of the car. So that's an interesting news story. I haven't read it yet, but I have to go to a different space. But I think there seems to be kind of maybe a little bit of over focus on this announcement just due to the price action. But you look at the market, today was a red day in the market, especially for your Mag 7 stocks. This thing has rallied 50% in the last month. A little bit of a correction was expected. Machine made a good trade there. He actually predicted it. So there's no need to, focus overly on the announcement. I think it is a disappointment, but there's more going on in the market than just necessarily it's because of this delay. So, it sounds kind of like they maybe need to do some more work on it to get it to be something really great that they can show off.
Alex.
Yeah, I just want to clear the record. I just want to say I am not emotionally attached to Elon, and I'm not even emotionally attached to Machine's mom. I just do her over and over, zero emotions, and yeah, that's it.
Robert.
Going to compete with Uber takes a lot of moving parts that we haven't talked about in the community too much. And I hit one of them here in Prague, where the airport's official taxi is Uber. And I don't see any Teslas here. So that's the optimistic me. That's a big market wide open for Elon to come in with a better product. Maybe take a little bit more thinking about how to make this a worldwide thing from the get-go. Uber took 3 years to go from an invention to a worldwide brand, where it was in South Africa and other places.
Interesting.
So Tesla
Robert,
has to be
so
better.
if indeed Tesla engineers were told to make a change to the design this week, what do you think that change? Just speculate.
It's like Steve Jobs dropping the phone in the fish tank and seeing a bubble of air come out of it and go, "You guys aren't done engineering yet. Go back and work some more. You haven't figured out how to do it the best possible yet."
Okay. Mishka.
I'm very curious about the current performance also of the stock market, like in the S&P. Obviously, the S&P is currently dropping, but also I've seen a lot of statements from Morgan Stanley, or from Morgan Stanley's Adam Jonas to be more specific, that Tesla is more than likely, and this is seemed to be the Morgan Stanley consensus, that it's going to outperform the S&P and possibly even go from worst to best, as recently posted also by the son of Walkley. And I was wondering about that, to where if the Tesla robotaxi is delayed and everything else, there's got to be some sort of insider knowledge behind something, because recently Tesla's been bought very heavily by South Korea, from what I've been seeing, and just by non-US markets. So what exactly, obviously this S&P is dropping today, but it's really getting me to think right now, because if there's so much foreign entry into the Tesla market, why would people be dumping right now, despite S&P going down? It just seems like such a lucrative business right now. Does it not?
Okay. So by the way, we have Meyer on in listener mode. If he's available, please come up and maybe we can talk some macro. We had a bunch of macro news come out this morning about inflation, etc.
Oh,
And
so
I'm
you see
curious.
him?
Yeah, I see him.
Oh,
Like I
you
said,
see, but you don't see me. Okay.
Alex, I told you, I don't see most people, and I see some people, and this is a new bug in Spaces. I hope that they fix it, but there seems to be a new bug every day with X Spaces. Anyway,
Agreed.
Robert.
The Robotaxi is an experience, and Elon's been planning on this for 10 years or so, because the Model 3, when it first shipped, had an all-electronic dash. And I asked Mercedes engineers why they couldn't do something like that. And they said, well, our customers like buttons. And Elon has been planning this Robotaxi thing for a while. It might have come down to feedback from manufacturing line, right? There's a feedback loop there that Harman's head of design told me about. He moved his design team to China to be across the street from the factory, and the iteration cycle sped up, and they started winning awards and getting better customer sat numbers and better sales because of that. And so, it's just, it happens. I personally slipped Siri 2 months because I found some bugs that they couldn't fix. Right? So things happen. It's not the end of the world. The market is still here. There's no Teslas in Prague. Think about it. Go to Dream. That should make an investor dream a little bit. It's like, oh, there's an undiscovered market. It's like a new field of gold. Because every city in the world is eventually going to look like San Francisco does today, or Austin, or Los Angeles, or Santa Barbara with all Teslas. Right? Isn't every market like that going to be like that soon?
All right. So the entire stock market is dropping pretty big today. So this is this screenshot of the sector by sector. You can see all the big tech stocks dropping pretty fast. JR in YouTube live chat points out that NASDAQ is down 2.5%. Russell is up. Russell 2000. So these are the small cap stocks are up 3.5%. This is a massive rotation happening today. And you can see it very clearly in the chart at the top of your screen. So I brought up, thank you, Meyer, for coming up. I know Meyer follows macroeconomics very closely, and I want to get his updated thoughts on this. Meyer, what do you think is happening?
Yeah, I continue to believe that this is not a soft landing. It looks like a soft landing because that's how the transition typically happens when we go from a period of high inflation and it transitions to then low inflation, and everybody thinks that this is the soft landing that the Fed has been trying to engineer. But I don't think it's going to stop right at 2%, which is the Fed's inflation target. I think we're going to undershoot to the downside, which is typical for a recession. And my conviction on that has only grown because the data keeps moving in that direction. There's just too many things that keep happening that are not consistent with bull markets.
Okay. So let me ask you something. I agree with you on that. Okay. I agree with you, but I'm going to take the other side for discussion purposes. So this morning, inflation came down quite a bit. We now have it, I believe, on the PCE, two handle CPI came down to 3.0%. And obviously, we got the first negative headline CPI report today. So those are all very positive. And at the same time, initial weekly claims came down today. Mm-hmm. What do you think about that?
Yeah, there's a lot of chatter about that. Like this time, the initial claims have been very low. And there was an interesting Bloomberg piece on that a few months ago, which I think explains it, which is that claims may not be the best measure of unemployment as it once was, because in order to qualify, you have to have a certain income. You have to if you're getting an income above a certain threshold, then you're automatically disqualified from it. And another thing that we've seen is that a lot of people right now are working part-time jobs. And so, if you're getting part-time income, you could be underemployed, and at the same time not qualify. And right now, if you look at the job market, more than 100% of the jobs, meaning there are more part-time jobs created than full-time jobs. In fact, full-time jobs are down, which is why it's more than 100%. So, again, this is another thing where
So
never
let me ask you, point blank, do you think we're in a recession right now?
I think it's close, but not yet. It's getting really close, though.
Yeah. And so you think
But
it's going to start in Q3 or Q4?
but some people do believe that we're in recession right now, and the reason, and they make an interesting case, which is that if you look at, so when the BLS reports the monthly jobs figures, they not only tell you how many jobs were created in the current month, but then they make revisions to past months, and they have made revisions to just about every month to the downside for essentially all of 2023 and for all but 2 months of this year in 2024. And if you combine that, that is historically consistent with what happens around the start of recessions. When you have that level of negative revisions on past months, you look at the charts, like David Rosenberg is a great follow. He put together a fantastic chart that illustrates that. And you can see very clearly that the extent of the negative revisions is consistent with what happens in recessions. So there are folks out there that believe that the recession has already started. And it's never clear. In fact, that's the problem. Like the NBER is the committee within the Bureau of Economic Analysis that's tasked with declaring and dating recessions. And just about every recession that we've ever had has been declared in hindsight. So in 2008, it was obvious we were in recession, but that was only after Lehman broke, right? And then the NBR finally said in December of 2008 that, oh shit, we're in recession. And by the way, the recession started in December of 2007. And in December 2007, very few people were highlighting that we're in recession. So it never starts off obvious to everybody. In fact, jobs gained throughout the first half of 2008. So even after all the data was said and done that the recession started almost a year in advance, non-farm payrolls continued to expand at a decent clip. So recessions can happen even with jobs being created. And it's what's building beneath the surface that you have to look at.
Got it. Thank you. I mean, I think you and I are perfectly aligned on this. So if anybody wants to argue the other side, please request to speak. Meyer, what do you think about, first of all, are you long, short Tesla right now, or are you neutral?
I'm long. I've always been long. I trade a third of my shares in and out, but 2/3 of my long-term position I just don't touch.
Okay. What do you think about this recent surge in the stock price, 100% in 3 months?
It's I think it's warranted because because Tesla's been in decline, earnings have been down for 5 quarters straight. And so the direction of the trend has been negative. But I think for the first time, we're going to break that downtrend this quarter, not on a year-over-year basis, but sequentially. And so the market is interpreting that as a directional trend change of earnings, that we're finally ending the drawdown in earnings and getting back to growth again. And I think that's the right call so far, at least, with what we've seen from Q2 deliveries.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Let's see, we have Amurus coming up again. Amurus, go ahead.
Yes, I was a witness to the 2008 when the recession started. I used to work across Lehman Brothers, and I saw them, since 9 o'clock in the morning coming out and all that. I see, when we came out of that recession. But comparing the current situation to a recession, I beg to differ. I think that we have a contraction in the economy, but that's because the economy has been growing. I think that the Fed had been getting that wrong all along. It's the economy has been growing, and they were very late to react to that. So I think that what we're seeing now, and by the way, after 17 and a half years, I was let go by my company. I used to be a vice president of a major bank for the IT department, and I was let go. But I don't think that we are in a recession at the moment. I think that we have a contraction, and this is just another mechanism from the Fed trying to drive down inflation. Um, I think that the people are still consuming, they're buying. There is jobs being created, although some jobs, including myself, have been lost. And I see around. And last night, it was my mother's birthday, and I took her to a restaurant. I had to go to 3 different restaurants to be able to find space. People are consuming. People are spending money. I go to Costco, and it's insane to find parking even at between 1 and 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Um, so yes, jobs are being lost, and the stock market today we saw a correction, which I think is being induced. This is something that some analysts, including Gary, had been posing the last few days that this was going to happen and all that. So this is some sort of
Okay,
like self-fulfilling
thank
prophecy.
you. Yeah, Amurus, you're a first-time speaker, right? You don't usually come here.
I'm sorry, say again.
You don't usually come here, right? You're a first-time speaker.
On this space, yes.
Yeah. So first-time speakers, you're not familiar with the rules of the space. So I encourage you to stay in listening mode for a while and just familiarize yourself with how the space flows before coming up here and hogging the mic. Robert.
You have to earn it through being abused a bit.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, not through that, but also
Or
like,
offer up your mom. Either way.
Yeah, I mean, like, people come up here sometimes. I think sometimes people like to listen to themselves, and that's not the point of the space. The point of the space is to share ideas. Myers obviously have been following, is very consistent with his views. He's been around for many years. And, the person came up and said a bunch of things, offered no data whatsoever. And that's just not the kind of debate. That's not a balanced debate, So we have Machine on here. Machine, what do you think about the view that the economy is slowing down? Meyer says in the past, recessions have been declared looking backward. In the moment, it doesn't appear like we're in a recession. And Meyer believes that recession is about to start. What do you think about that view?
I think it seems reasonable. I don't follow the data nearly as much as him. I've seen his post on it. I've seen some other people's data that things seem to be slowing down some. We see, housing supply starting to go up in the South,
there's some indications there of affordability being strained in various areas of the market. And, so I believe Meyer will be right. I will say, however, Meyer's been calling for a recession for what, 2 years?
Yeah, I did. That's right. I did start talking about this for. I believe I started around February of 2023. So about a year and a half now.
Well, you know what, Machine? Sometimes the good investors are early. And now you can see at the top, macro analyst call from February 2024. It says, if the Fed doesn't cut rates by Q2, meaning by the end of Q2, so June, recession could start by the end of 2024. So now Meyer and me, and I believe, Machine, you also believe that a recession is about to start, right?
Yeah, listen, I'm not. I'm just joking a bit with Meyer, okay? Because we all make predictions that are a little off in timing. I'm just ribbing him a little bit. I think he's generally correct, and I think I think we need it. I think the economy needs a slowdown a bit. Okay.
I mean, if you need any proof that we need a recession, just look at Rivian stock price. Their stock also went up 100% more than Tesla in the last 3 months, and they have negative gross margins. Who are you?
Well, I've been in Kauai for 20 years, and summers are the busiest time. This is the worst summer I've ever seen. It's super slow over here, if you want to talk about a recession.
Yeah, by the way, I also heard from my contacts in the used car market that just to update you guys a little bit, there seems to be an uptick for demand for FSD. Okay, a little bit. It could be driven by the FSD transfer offer that's right now in place. So sometimes I think people buy these used Teslas with FSD on as an arbitrage opportunity. So maybe there's a bit of an uptick. But cars without FSD are hard to move today. Cars without FSD are hard to move is a quote from one of my contacts. Machine.
I was just going to ask Meyer if he sold covered calls on his shares like he was thinking about, and I told him he should.
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't. No, that was just pure luck in timing. But no, I didn't do it.
Yeah. Moral of the story: listen to Machine. That's a joke. Don't listen to him. Mishka.
I also wanted to kind of also like transition one question out. And oh my goodness, I have no idea how I'm forgetting this. So sorry, come back to me. Give me 1 second.
Okay. Machine.
Yeah, I just wanted to officially pour one out for all the Tesla rational investors. I mentioned this the other day, and I see another tweet today from Rob Maurer, again saying the auto business doesn't matter. All that matters is Robotaxi progress, which, I mean, I get, okay, based on the value of the company, that is all that matters, that can support the stock price going higher. The question is then, where is the progress? We need to 100 to 1000x the reliability of the system to get to robotaxis. And what timeline is acceptable in your mind for us to get to robotaxis, for the current valuation to be supported? Is 1 to 2 years okay, 2 to 3 years, or more? What do you think's okay? Like if it's 10 years out, does that really satisfy the current valuation?
Yeah. We have a couple of hands that I'm going to get to in 1 second, but we just have a new speaker from a real Ivy League school, unlike Cornell, from Columbia. Randall, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you for having me. I don't know about all the hate
It's an
piled on Cornell, but
inside joke.
sure. Yeah, I just thanks for having me, and I wanted to say that like the moves by Tesla today, it reveals that like a lot of the stock was trading on hype, right? It was trading on future prospects. It was trading on the hype of fully self-driving and on robo-taxis. And I think that what we're seeing now, we were going to see after the 8th anyway.
Machine.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I think that comes in line where people think, oh, it's not hype. Well, but if you're saying robotaxis are all that matter, and that's what matters for valuation, then they're literally any news about robotaxi is going to drastically swing the stock price. It just has to, because basically all the valuation is based on that and any probability of it happening, right? So if you hear something gets delayed 3 months, the market's going to get spooked. Maybe robotaxis aren't going to happen for a few years later. And I would just say, Columbia, it's a good university. It's sad to see what's happened to it this over the last 9 months. The real stupidity of the students, the education there must have really gone downhill since Randall was there.
I agree. It's terrible what happened there. I mean, seeing what's been going on at Columbia is very sad.
All right. Robert.
In 2018, my money manager and I had almost the exact same conversation Machine is trying to have with us. It almost went bankrupt.
So I thought you were referring to
Tesla has always been a different kind of investment for me. It's one about innovation and it's one about the future for our children. So that's why I'm a long-term investor in this, whether it makes money or not.
Kristen.
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate what Rob Maurer said. He said that FSD software progress is all that matters right now for Robotaxi, not a vehicle unveiling. I don't think he's saying that the automotive sector doesn't matter for Tesla. He's just saying that this Robotaxi unveil, it's the FSD software we should anchor on and focus on.
Machine.
No, I respectfully disagree, because he said months ago that after Tesla announced their Q1 deliveries and they were very poor, he said, deliveries and production don't matter anymore for automotive. It's all about robotaxis. So it's not just about FSD progress. He's saying the robotaxi business is all that matters for Tesla's valuation. And I mean, I agree at these valuation levels. And I would just say to Robert, like, this whole, everyone's like, wow, listen, this is how it was in 2018. No, it wasn't. I was all in 2018 and 2019 on very tangible financials that Tesla could grow into just by expanding their volume and increasing operating leverage. That was a much easier path versus what we have today. And people just somehow just missed it. They just said Tesla's losing money. And it's like, well, no, their gross margins are very high. They just need operational leverage. That's much fundamental, different trajectory than trying to predict FSD. So, I mean, if you're in it for, you want to support the company, I have no problem with that.
The Toyota I got
Okay.
a ride in, which was an Uber car, was far inferior to a Tesla experience. The business people are going to figure this out eventually.
Yeah. All right. I replied to Rob Bauer's reply and invited him into the space. And I encourage people, if there's anybody you want to see on the speaker board, anyone that you follow, invite them to the space and we can have a discussion. And hopefully Rob joins in and then shuts down Machine's allegations. Also, JR is pointing out that NVIDIA is down 6% as well. So a lot of macro stocks are down. So Tesla's decline today is not purely due to the Bloomberg article. It's also in part due to macroeconomic considerations that Mario was talking about. Alex.
No, I don't know. I took my hand down, but yeah, it's Tesla still make cars. It's like they have the whole energy business. Saying that none of that matters except like robotaxis or FSD. I think that's taken it out of context like massively.
Yeah. So I'm going to reply, invite this person, invite that person. You do it. Just send the link to the space to the person you want to invite. And then if they come in, they come in. Mishka.
Thanks so much. And I'm sorry, the thought came back to me finally. The thing that I wanted to bounce back to was the talks of recession and everything else. And although I do, and for context, I run a tutoring company, and we currently serve college students on University of Michigan campus. And in business, especially like during a recession or during like poor economic months, I will say it's very easy, at the very least for me, to kind of like see how finances are doing, at least amongst like parents and college students, amongst that. And right now, the thing that kind of pushes me away from really believing that there is a recession is because of the amount of families that I know, because of my business and because of the amount of business that we have, to really believe that a recession is happening. Because more than ever right now, I see a lot of people investing a lot of money into assets that are going to lose them money eventually. Now, do I believe that a recession might happen? Possibly. But right now, over the past like 3 months, I know from my clients and everything else, surprisingly, after I got my Tesla like 6 months ago, I've had over 100 plus, parents ask me like, "Oh, which car did you get?" Oh, blah blah blah, and then I see them buying a brand new Model S, Model X. I've had 4 parents actually get a Cybertruck, after me, and I don't know how they even got like the referrals or the credits to accelerate the order, but they just got some, literally because I had a Tesla. So maybe a recession is happening, somewhere in some market, but I also would definitely want to say that at the very least to me, it's not at all visible as of right now.
Okay. Do you want to bet Mayur a coffee?
Well, I already have a bet with him on one coffee. Or no, I don't think I have it with Meyer. I don't think I have it with Meyer. Meyer, I will bet a coffee with you too. I might be 2 coffees down or 2 up. We'll see.
Mayur, are you willing to bet Mishka a coffee that a recession will start by the end of Q3?
What was that? You said, am I willing to what?
Bet him coffee. So you say a recession is imminent. Mishka says no. So let's put that to September 30, and we'll give it 6 months for the official recognition of the recession start.
I'm on.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, I'll shoot you a message.
Yeah.
No. This is an official coffee bet sanctioned by Tesla Live, which means I have to write it up.
Oh, okay, that's fair. I was gonna send him a message too.
Yeah, not all coffee bets are created equal, guys. Okay. This
So
is Turkish coffee.
I have a little formula, just 3 or 4 different requirements before I finally declare that this is recession now. One is that the permanent job losers, which is reported on the monthly jobs report, table A11, when that crosses above the 3-year moving average, that's requirement number 1, which, by the way, is already triggered. So permanent job losers crosses above the 3-year moving average. The unemployment rate crosses above the 3-year moving average. That's number 2. And then you need to have yield curve uninverting, meaning it goes from inversion to then above 0. That's when things get imminent with regards to markets. So that's more of a market timing sort of mechanism, so that you're not trying to get out or short too early, And then lastly, you want to, and this is just a bonus, but you want to be starting off from a elevated valuation base, which I believe we currently are for the S&P 500. If you look at the Schiller PE, which I think is a great overall valuation framework for the market, it currently suggests that we're at the highest valuations in 22 years, going back to 2002, as we were undoing the dot-com insanity. So we're not only at recession risk, but we're starting off from a very elevated valuation base. So the downside pain could be especially sharp, because you're going from a richly valued market to a recession PE on lower earnings. And so therefore, even if you only have a 5 or 10% drop in earnings, if we just revert from a 22 PE to a 16 PE, which is quite normal, that leads to big numbers very easily.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Machine, can you repeat the 3 indications that Meyer listed?
No, I was listening loosely. Sorry for failing the test.
Yeah, you failed the test. Meyer, can you please make it easier to understand for Machine? 3 things, 1 sentence each that you're looking at.
Yeah, so the first one is permanent job losers. So this comes from the jobs report, table A11, if being super specific. That measures how many jobs employers have permanently canceled.
That's number 1, permanent job losers. Number 2?
Yeah. Number 2 is the unemployment rate crosses above the 36-month moving average. That's the 3-year moving average.
Okay.
And number 3, you want yield curve uninversion. So the 2-year yield falls below the 10-year yield.
Yeah. All right. And the bonus was?
And the bonus is the elevated market multiple, which we have right now.
Got it. Machine, there you go. You now know. Go ahead.
So I'm just distracted because I looked up Lucid's price, and Lucid is just going up. It's like another 9% today. This is insane. Okay, so I agree with Meyer that we're in an inflated market, even though it's only specific to certain companies. Like obviously with S&P 500, it's only a subset of the companies that have really appreciated a lot. The big tech companies, Microsoft, Nvidia, I forget the third, if it was Apple or Google. And, they have huge earnings, right? And earnings growth to help support that. So I'm curious, is the market really overinflated in general, or is it just these companies? And will their earnings continue to grow, like if there's a recession?
Okay. Very interesting points. These are very good discussions. I love it. I love it. This space has been exceptionally good. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining. Appreciate you all being here. We had some really good speakers throughout the last 3 hours, really. We started 1 hour early, and we had Bradford earlier on, and he jumped off, and he's now back. And we had micro discussion, macro discussions, trading discussions, bulls, bears, just excellent discussion. I'm really proud of the space. I really am. I mean, I cannot tell you how proud I am of everyone in this space. This space is really growing without any sacrifice of quality, and I love it. Bradford, go ahead.
And I'll add that I do appreciate Meyer as a devil's advocate. People should think of him that way. I see a lot of people getting like really angry with Meyer. I came up because Machine was talking such good about Lucid, and I want him to take easy on Lucid because they just got their first stamping machine apparently, and they made a big video about it. But then Peter ends a video saying that they don't have any dies for the stamping machine yet, so they're still waiting on those.
That sounds like a 9% move, machine.
Oh my God, I'm gonna go sell some calls on Lucid. I think I'm gonna take my Tesla earnings. It's time to move it over to Lucid.
The risk you have with Lucid is if they go private with the Saudi money, which is always a possibility. Okay, so if you're writing calls, just be aware of that. Rivian is also up 4%, and I suspect the risk of that is lower with Rivian. But you do what you want to do. Finflexity. Okay, machine.
Well, I already have a Rivian short position, and that has not, I've
Yeah,
not
you got
hit a
your.
double.
I mean, to put it in better terms, you had your head handed to you with your Rivian short, right? Who told you to do that?
That's not. I wouldn't say I've had my head handed to me, but it's definitely down. We'll see.
Aren't there like
If
1 year
there's no
highs or
correction.
something?
What'd you say?
Aren't they at a 1 year high or something?
I don't know. No, they're
Oh
not.
no, that's not true. It's 6 months. 6 month high.
I mean, I've made money on Rivian.
How are they up today?
I don't know. There's a better company than Tesla. I think the market has realized that the CEO of Rivian is just much better than the CEO of Tesla. He actually graduated with a PhD from MIT. The CEO of Tesla is a dropout of Stanford. He wears glasses. He looks smart. He's obviously in shape.
He goes to the
thin,
gym. Yeah.
not fat.
Okay.
American born, a real American, not some import like the rest of you.
Muted. Mishka.
Oh my goodness. Okay, come back to me again. I don't know why I keep forgetting. I just started laughing from what Machine was saying.
All right. We have Finflexity coming up. Finflexity. Finflexity. Can you guys see him as a speaker? Finflexity.
Yeah, I don't know why my phone is bugging out today. Anyways, Machine was making a point earlier of how the markets are inflated, sort of. And, I just wanted to point out that over the last 52 weeks, there are only basically two sectors, which is tech and consumer services, which have seen largest inflows. Other than that, basically every sector is either flat in inflows or they are negative in inflows. Specifically, tech is at a 3 month average of 3 billion per week, and that is rough estimates from Bank of America. And after that, the next services is consumer services, which is at 1 billion. So there is a 3x gap between the two.
Machine, can you repeat what he said?
Yeah, he's saying basically there's really only a few sectors that money's being put into, and it kind of agrees with my point. Is that
I just want to make sure that you are paying attention. JR also points out that Rivian and Lucid are up because small cap rotation, maybe. But I don't know if Rivian is part of Russell 2000. Does anyone know? Anyway, Finflexity.
Yeah, I think a major reason that Rivian and Lucid are up in, together with Tesla is because over the last week, we had a large inflows in consumer discretionary ETFs. But on the other hand, every single aspect of consumer discretionary was almost in negative -1, -2. The only sector within consumer discretionary was up was automobiles, and that is why we had over the board across everything. And it's a pure EV company, so there is some sentiment there.
Thank you, Finflexity. Tesla Yoda.
Hey,
Rivian.
yeah.
Yoda.
I'm just saying. I'm just looking forward to the reason that Elon will share after the bell. Um, I think if it's just a couple weeks or a couple months to refine the hardware, the demo, the closed loop demo, then Tesla's going to recover anyway. But the more exciting reason for me would be that Elon says more time is needed to refine the AI FSD model or to obtain the required regulatory approval. Let's say there's a bit of delay there, as this would mean that a service is imminent and it's closer than we think. And as I said, if that's the case, I look forward to adding more Tesla.
Yoda, you had also mentioned in an earlier space that you're waiting for a dip in Nvidia to add shares. Are you adding shares in Nvidia?
Yeah, I'm preparing essentially a reallocation from Apple into either Tesla or Nvidia. It was for Nvidia, but with today's news, it may actually go into Tesla. So just
Okay,
depending on
good.
what I was saying with the reason.
Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you. Very good. Machine?
Yeah, I think Tesla Yoda, his mind is melting from the heat. I know it's hot here in California. It's probably hot in his brain. He's come in number one with this idea that they're actually starting a Robotaxi network in less than a month, which is so unrealistic. And he's really sticking to it now. He's like, oh, they're delaying it because they just need one more iteration, training the model, and then they're there. They're at Robotaxi. Yeah, I'm sure they're going to go from a few hundred miles per critical disengagement to 100,000 in one more training. That's all they need. And secondly, Tesla Yoda is one of these people like Omar who likes to taunt. He taunts me in the tweets about my short position. And, that's not just good manners. Did you see what happened? Do you see what happened, Tesla Yoda? The stock immediately tanked when you did that. And then I made money and now I close my position. So, haha.
Does he
Well,
say decaf? Does
Machine,
he say decaf cappuccino to you too? Extra hot? He taunts
I
me
don't get
too.
it.
Machine, for the record, yesterday I posted that the fair value is 243. I think we're right around there. And I'm not out here to taunt. I just have seen so many folks. The one that comes to mind is Tesla economist, and I would just hate for you to kind of go there. But I appreciate your commentary. Over the past months.
Grant.
Yeah, I'm just agreeing with everything Machine said, but also highlighting that I don't think you can get permits for a vehicle that doesn't have a prototype yet. Like, this is just so far detached from reality. It's sad.
Yoda, you're getting attacked today.
That's okay. I'm used to getting arrows on my back from strangers, friends, and even Mrs. Yoda. So this doesn't hurt at all. I just want everyone to think about that a closed loop, very restricted route uh, is not that far fetched. Imagine a route going from, say, a particular airport to a particular, hotel or hotel area. That's quite possible today with, robotaxi services in China. Obviously, Waymo does that in a larger scale, but I'm talking about a very restricted demo type of route.
Kristen.
Yeah, I want to point out that the Cybertruck remained quite hidden and nobody knew what it was going to look like except for the people working on it. So to say that there is no permits for this vehicle because there's no prototype, I just don't believe that. I believe it's out there. So
Inflexity.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I was reading Bloomberg's news report from half an hour ago, and they're saying that the Robotaxi unveil has been pushed back to October. I don't know if it's true or nothing.
Machine.
Have you been living under a rock? You can't bring news that's 2 hours old into a live space.
Yeah, I think exactly. Finflex, we started early today, 1 hour early. I recommend people go back and listen to the earlier part. This has been an excellent space, and a lot of good information came out of this space with really, really good, diverse set of speakers from bull side, bear side, and yeah, Finflex is a very valued speaker. Machine. Please watch your words. Randolph. Randall, you may unmute yourself and go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask the Tesla bulls, like, what is the best case for this FSD announcement, and what happens to the stock price if Elon manages to deliver a good FSD announcement, a Robotaxi announcement on August 8th?
Who wants to take that on the bull side? Bradford?
We thought sentiment was stretched coming into today, so I think it's going to depend on the reaction to earnings and what kind of lead up we get going into the event. As far as the stock, we can have these run ups before earnings, and then the stock goes all the way back once the earnings happens, and the same with the events. I think it'd be somewhat bullish if Elon denies the rumor, but I wouldn't necessarily expect the stock to go all the way back to where it started today. It all just depends on the supply and demand of the stock.
But even if Elon denies the rumor, like, what do you want to see come out on August 8th?
Bare minimum, I want to see what it looks like. There's a rumor that they delayed it for models. Maybe they don't have enough of the smaller robotaxis for the event, and they need to get more made. But maybe they're also working on a van. I'd like to see the app in action. So, like, if someone requests a ride and get a ride, and see them, make it safely to their destination. I wouldn't be super excited about a closed course. Automakers don't need to have a special permit to run a prototype vehicle. Tesla runs prototype vehicles all the time. They dress them up. Sometimes they're even in the shell of a legacy auto, so it's not necessarily always in the form of a Tesla Model 3 or a Model Y. Sometimes they hide it.
Machine.
I just had a question for Bradford on what was the feedback he got on his video about selling covered calls on Tesla shares. I got feedback from people who thought it was reckless, which I think means they didn't understand.
Yeah, some people are just opposed to the idea completely, but what we did in the video was we looked at how did cover calls do in 2020, and we found that, like, if you sell them with a certain margin of safety, you could actually won to selling them every week in 2020. So that really surprised me, because we looked back at the actual data, where the calls were trading, and it was just like a formulaic process. So where you sell them at the same time each week, and you take them off a certain way. So it wasn't like us cherry picking the best way to trade them within a week. And it really surprised us that adding cover calls with a certain margin of safety was actually additive to buy and hold in 2020, when the stock was up 730%. That shocked the hell out of me.
Thank you, Bradford. This space has been going on for 3 hours. Okay. Excellent speakers on board, but I want to keep it kind of, so let's get everybody's, so we have a question in the replies, and I want to get everyone's response to this question before we close, okay? The question comes from Dallas Tesla Club and says, do you see this as a buy opportunity for people who missed the bull run over the past 2-3 months? We're going to start. So yes or no? Is this a buying opportunity? Yes or no? Let's start with the machine.
Nope, not yet.
Okay. Grant,
No.
Yoda,
Absolutely yes.
Meyer,
Depends on your time frame, but yes.
okay. Bradford,
Not yet. Another video we did yesterday was about Tesla FOMO. So we felt coming into today that emotion was extremely high on the high side among Tesla bulls, and felt like risk was elevated.
okay.
I don't think this move is totally called for, but like I wouldn't be surprised by more pullback.
Okay. Alex,
Machine's mom.
perfect. Kristen,
Yes, the whole market's down.
yes, this is a buying opportunity.
Yes.
Okay. And then we have Ken in YouTube live chat says yes. Chris said yes, but keep some ammo on the side. Uzi,
Exactly that. Little bets until confirmed or not.
okay. All right. We're going to end it there. Thank you very much, everybody. I recommend everyone listen to it from the beginning. We started early, and it was a great space. Take care. I'm going to publish for patrons a summary in the next couple of hours, and then I will chat with you guys tomorrow. Bye.
Take care. Thanks.